Panthers.
Bounces his way into the end zone. Touchdown!
Visit GotBrian.com.
That's GotBrian.com.
It's the Adam Gold Show on a Labor Day, so because I am honoring the holiday, I am not doing any heavy labor. So what we have for you is a best of. So let's start with the Carolina Panthers and the one and only Joe Person from The Athletic. What was the final score? 31-26. So there were a lot of things that happened after the first series, but really the only thing that mattered was the first series. The only thing. And we can't take that much away from it other than it looked like it was supposed to look because the Buffalo Bills did not play any of their players, which is fine. Just like I took 0 away from the first two games other than the pre-snap penalties, which, again, grain of salt, because if you're not using your own, the players who are going to play for the most part during the year, then I just don't know what level of importance to assign to it. And again, I'm not saying suddenly because the Panthers drove down the field on Buffalo's uniforms and scored a touchdown, and it looked good in the process, I'm not going to suddenly go, oh my, the offense is going to be fine. We might get to the start of the season in 13 days, and the offense is exactly what it's been. But we had to see them at some point during the regular season. I get that there are teams that don't use their top players in the preseason, but for the most part, it's because they know what they have. There's no way Dave Canales could have known what he had and why they waited till the third preseason game. He gave us answers. That's fine. But I'm glad we saw it. I'm glad they looked good. And now we can move on. Regular season begins in New Orleans on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And hopefully the Panthers will look better. Bryce will look better. Again, I talked about some concerns that I had even with the touchdown drive. And we'll get into some of those things with the one and only Joe Person from The Athletic, covers the Panthers, and has for a number of years. I don't know exactly how many. I don't want to date him, although handsome. Joe Person, how are you, sir?
I am doing well, friend. I heard you already disparaging the lone touchdown drive for the first team offense since Christmas Eve. You're putting on your Grinch hat. I mean, can't you just enjoy that beautiful thing that transpired in Western New York?
I can, and I actually have. I loved what I saw. The only okay, we'll start with the stuff I didn't like. It's really the one thing I didn't like, is as much as anything else, in that there seemed to be pressure up the middle, and I thought that at least on a couple of occasions, certainly on the sack, that Bryce kind of stared at the rush. And that's not a good recipe in the regular season, but they certainly did a lot of good things. So that was the only thing that bothered me about that drive, which obviously did end in the touchdown and for the most part looked awesome, was that the rush came right up the middle, and that's no good.
No, that's fair. I guess to be a Panthers apologist, which I'm certainly not.
Right.
They were playing without their starting center, Austin Corbett, who was home in Charlotte for the birth of his son, and starting left guard Damian Lewis, who had his own family matter to attend to. So I'm willing to give them a little bit of cut them a little bit of slack there, but certainly, it was kind of PTSD stuff, because that was where so much of the pressure, not all of it, I mean, obviously Ike Ekwonu gave up a ton of pressure on the outside, but that was such a point of emphasis this offseason, is cleaning up that interior protection because of what we watched last year. So I understand that gave you some flashbacks as you were enjoying an otherwise pretty beautiful afternoon of weather in the greater Raleigh-Durham area.
It was lovely Saturday afternoon. Got much yard work done, lots of mowing, but I did catch the first drive. I watched a little bit more after that, but I'll be totally fair. It lost my interest because, to me, the only thing I really wanted to see was the first team offense look representative of an NFL offense. And as you said, first time since Christmas we saw them score. That's good. I like Chuba Hubbard, who I think is at least the first half of the season until Brooks is ready to go, probably going to be the feature runner. And if Chuba Hubbard's running well, there's no reason to change it. I liked everything I saw from Chuba, and it was cool to see Jordan Matthews feature in.
Yeah. No, it was again, you know this, I think, but your listeners don't and probably don't care. I was not at the game. I was covering it at a wedding in New York City, and luckily it was an evening wedding, so I was able to kind of get spread out and hunkered down at in the Marriott. And yeah, I liked what I saw. I mean, and I kept with it later on, kind of like you did a little bit, but I don't know. This offense, they weren't going to go ahead and show all their cards. Dave Canales was certainly not. No coach would. But just to have some success and to move the ball methodically down the field, convert a fourth down on an off-platform play, which we've seen so much of. Like, that has been one thing we have seen a lot this camp. And some of it by design. Like, they're moving Bryce out of the pocket sometimes on purpose. That fourth down play in Buffalo obviously was not, but it was a good example of something that, and we did not see it a ton as rookie year, because I mean, sometimes the pocket was just gone so quickly you couldn't even get off platform.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, listen, we're not going to make too much of it. If Buffalo was playing their seconds and thirds, but at least it gives this quarterback and this offense a little bit of something to feel good about as they prepare for Week 1 in New Orleans.
Yeah, Joe Person, by the way, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show, covers the Panthers for The Athletic. The last year was just a disaster in every way, shape, or form. You know, not that we're going to talk about this. The Patriots are in danger of putting Drake May in the exact same position. Weak offensive line, no real weapons on the outside. Very difficult for a quarterback to show anything if you don't have time and you don't have quality weapons to get the ball to. I do think the Panthers addressed both of those needs. Remains to be seen how far along they are in the offensive line or at receiver. But starting with the receiver position, the Deontay Johnson catch on 4th and 3, that rollout that was forced, but Bryce Young looked comfortable, made a good throw. Does seem like that is a combination we're going to see. Who's next in terms of that wide receiver that we either need to see step up or is maybe most capable of doing it?
Well, I mean, I think Adam Thielen, even at 34, I think he just turned 34.
Right.
Even at his age, I don't think he's going to catch 100 passes like last year, in large part because of Deontay Johnson and, to a lesser degree, Xavier Legette. So you asked a kind of a two-part question. I think Thielen right now is the most obvious candidate to kind of be 1A with Deontay Johnson. Legette, he's got some stepping up to do. And like, we are in a world and an age of immediacy. And like, I get it. And I even hate to do that, because it's not like they picked Xavier Legette in the top 10 picks, but they did pick him in the first round. And he did not make a lot of splash plays this summer at camp or in the very brief preseason look that he got. But mostly I'm talking about at camp and at the Jets practice. You just never really were jotting down something he did or tweeting it out. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of people around the league felt like that they may have reached there. That while he was an explosive player at South Carolina, there wasn't a lot of nuance to his game in terms of route running. That it was a lot of straight ahead speed and kind of high pointing the ball with his terrific strength and height, which is not nothing. And hold on, I'm just seeing a German friend of ours on our street. He probably thinks I'm blowing him off. Comes all the way from Germany, and I don't even stop to talk to him.
I get it, man. You're not a good neighbor.
I am going to kind of circle back around. Well, whatever. So enough about Johannes. We were talking about Xavier Legette.
Right.
And listen, I don't think Jonathan Mingo he got hit with that label last year after they picked him in the second round at Ole Miss. Not a real good route runner. There were occasions he's even admitted that in particularly he was not very good in scramble situations about giving Bryce a target for those off-platform throws, and he really didn't do much his rookie year. And you certainly hope that's not going to repeat itself with Legette. I do think Legette arrives in the NFL, with a higher ceiling than Jonathan Mingo, but it was a little bit, again, with the caveat that we want it now, darn.
Right.
That it was not. We didn't see a lot of splash plays out of him throughout August.
Well, we did, following you throughout training camp and at the Jets practice, we saw some big plays from Jonathan Mingo and especially Terrace Marshall. Those two guys did step up. So at the very least, there's going to be depth and maybe safety in numbers throughout. What are your thoughts on Ja'Tavion Sanders, the tight end out of Texas they took in the fourth round?
I like him. I've got a soft spot for tight ends anyway.
Sure.
But I do like him as a receiver. They did not draft him to block. He's not a good blocker, and maybe that's something he develops as his career goes on. But yeah, I think he can help them. It's been a weird summer at that position for them because, as you suggested or didn't suggest, as you said, Jordan Matthews has really taken advantage of a lot of increased reps that came with Ian Thomas's calf injury. I didn't think Jordan Thomas was going to make this team a month ago, and now I had him on the 53 at the beginning of the season. We shall see. I mean, I'm not saying I've got all the answers, but he's 32 years old, former receiver. It's a great story. I don't know that he's going to shine out and look as good in the regular season as he did in some of these preseason games, but I like some of these August stories. Like I enjoyed them when I would go to Florida for spring training stories, and I like them this time of year too. Like who's someone that's just kind of made themselves over, or just kind of an underdog comeback type story, and certainly Jordan Matthews, the other end of the spectrum from Ja'Tavion Sanders, who's just getting here with a lot of hope and promise.
All right, let me ask you two quick things on the defensive side, and then we will let Joe Person go on Twitter at Joseph Person. Second corner opposite J.C. Horn, and we all know that if Horn is healthy, you've got the number one cornerback spot pretty much locked down, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Makes it even more important to find somebody really good opposite him. Where are they in that category? And I know Dane Jackson, who would be the starter, is hurt. They made a trade for Michael Jackson from Seattle. Your thoughts on cornerback 2?
I think it's still a mess. Right now, I would say a guy like Deshaun Jameson, who did start a game or two last year, I think he's got the inside track until Dane Jackson gets healthy. But Dane Jackson's going to be out for probably the first month of the season from everything it sounds like.
Yeah.
So I don't, talking to people around the league, different personnel guys, I don't think that Michael Jackson really projects as a starter. I think he's sort of a rotational guy. He does give them size and pretty good speed. Like that, if you look at that spot opposite J.C. Horn. Now that they cut Lamar Jackson, all these Jacksons.
Yes.
Famous name Jackson. Once he had good size, and but he's gone. DiCaprio Boodle has some starting experience from last year, and Deshaun Jameson, whom I mentioned, and then their 5th round pick, Shaw. Why am I going to blank on Shaw's last name? But I am.
Don't worry about it.
Out of Washington State. Gosh, I'm getting old. Anyway, none of them have any size.
Right.
Like, they are really, and I don't know. That could be a problem. Dane Jackson doesn't have size. So all of which to say, I think that is a very obvious spot where they're going to add again. I know they just traded for Michael Jackson, but I think they'll use a waiver claim on a corner. Teams typically aren't waiving guys at that position that even have a chance to be a starter. So I don't know. You find your starter there, but maybe you help your depth.
All right, final thing. The injuries have made it more difficult to find the edge rusher opposite Jadeveon Clowney. Where are we there?
Same kind of thing. By the way, it's Shaw Smith-Wade. So
yes.
Apologies to Shaw. Yeah, I don't love the edge group either. That I've written that these were the 2 spots that you had circled coming into camp, and they are still problem areas for sure. And just like injury impacted corner with Dane Jackson, we have yet to see DJ Wanham on the field after he had his complications from his quad surgery at the end of the 2023 season in Minnesota. I didn't hate that pickup. Obviously, you'd already committed some money, a good chunk of money to Jadeveon Clowney, so you weren't going to just blow the bank at one position.
Right.
So Wanham, if healthy, maybe he is sort of a value signing who gets you 8 sacks, which he had 2 different times in Minnesota. Which you can live with that if Clowney stays healthy and does Clowney things, but we haven't seen him. Like, he's not even practiced yet, so that he's got to be a month away, I would think. It would
help if DJ Johnson could show something. No.
It's a good, and you're right. And he had a sack against Buffalo, again, caveat with the second and third team offense, but it was something. And, up until that point, really, most of what you heard from coaches, including Canales and Ajero, is they really liked DJ Johnson as an edge setter against the run. So if you can get something out of him that sort of keep the seat warm until Wanham comes back, that would help you. But again, I think that's a position we're going to see them add to in the coming days.
13 days away, Joe Person. You'll have plenty of time to apologize to Shaw Smith-Wade and catch up with Johannes, your German neighbor.
Yes. Well, not even a neighbor. He's visiting, and I think we're going to have him. We're definitely having him for dinner now that I blew him off.
Oh, very nice.
I'm going to have to put him onto your website so I can tell him that, listen, there was a good reason. Adam Gold's the man.
There you go. You're such a gentleman. And a man who has a soft spot for tight ends, which will be part of your introduction the rest of our friendship. Joe Person from The Athletic covers the Panthers. I'll talk to you again, sir. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Have a good week.
You too. This is the Best of the Adam Gold Show. And coming up next, high school football and a controversy with Nick Stevens of High School OT.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Any mayo-based salad is disgusting. There's only one chicken salad on earth that I will eat. Most of them are too mayo-based. Egg salad is the grossest thing you could ever show me. That is so gross. If you're like, you know what I'm craving? An egg salad sandwich? Sickening.
Tuna and egg gross.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Unsportsmanlike.
Mornings from 6 to 9 on 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Adam Gold here from my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Let's just say the Panthers are laying it to the Saints. And you know what? I'm done with this game. I wish I could watch another one. Here's where FanDuel helps. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game like the Steelers and Falcons. Go Russell Wilson. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel at any time. FanDuel.com/Adam Gold. That's FanDuel.com/Adam Gold. And download America's #1 sportsbook. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Choose Youngsville Gun Club and Range for all your firearm education needs. From beginner classes to performance pistols and North Carolina concealed carry classes multiple times a month, they've got you covered. I'm Victoria Vodnecker here for YGC, and for more information, visit ygunrange.com. That's the letter Y, gunrange.com.
I'm Kamala Harris. Here's a few things I believe. Middle-class families, like the one I grew up in, they want common sense solutions. You want lower prices and lower taxes. I believe you want to just not get by, but you want to get ahead. We must create an opportunity economy where everyone has a chance to get a car loan, buy a home, start a business. And I believe we can make that happen.
Kamala Harris's plan? Bring down costs by cracking down on corporate price gougers. Make homeownership more affordable for families. A middle-class tax cut for 100 million Americans. And make sure billionaires and big corporations pay their fair share so you can keep more of the money you've earned.
Instead of being focused on the politics of the past, we need to be thinking about the future and how we make it better for families like yours. I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
Make the most out of summer with great deals on a great selection of Ram light-duty and heavy-duty pickup trucks. And right now, during the Ram Make This the Summer event, get an exceptional deal on the 2024 Ram 1500, the most luxurious Ram 1500 ever. Or get a heavy-duty deal on the powerful Ram 2500 and Ram 3500, the most advanced Ram heavy-duty pickups ever. Make this the summer to remember with great deals on award-winning Ram trucks. See your local Ram dealer now during the Ram Make This the Summer event, based on standard and available features offered.
Attention soccer fans, North Carolina FC invites you to be part of the excitement. Join us in our electrifying games with top-tier players, thrilling goals, and unforgettable moments. Experience the thrill of this beautiful game with North Carolina FC. Get your tickets now, northcarolinafc.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
It's the best of the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Thank you very much for enjoying your Labor Day holiday with us. Nick Stevens of High School OT on an NIL controversy. So this is where we will jump off and get into a little bit of high school football legalese. And then we're going to get back to the Panthers and the rest of the NFL and college football. And we are now full on into week one with State, Wake, and UNC all poised to get their seasons underway on Thursday. But there is a high school football player in Greensboro, right? High school football player in Greensboro who is suing, his family is suing the state for restrictions or banning I'll just read it from Nick Stevens' piece at High School OT, at Nick Stevens High School OT on Twitter, and you can follow Nick Stevens there, and Nick Stevens is joining us. So why don't we just do this with Nick? How are you, sir?
Doing well, Adam.
All right, so the lawsuit is for unlawfully restricting his right, and I want to get it's Faison Brandon, right? Or Faison Brandon, who's from Greensboro Dudley High School, who is committed to Tennessee, is a good quarterback, one of the best players in the state. And the lawsuit is for unlawfully restricting his right to freely use his NIL, which he and he alone owns. I'm reading the quote from your article, thereby jeopardizing his ability to capitalize on life-changing opportunities currently available to him and provide himself and his family with financial security. The second part of that, let's just leave aside. Let's just start with the nuts and bolts of suing the state, the Department of Education in this case. Where do we stand? Is that the proper entity with which to file the lawsuit?
It is. So real quick backstory here for people who may not be following this day to day. In May of 2023, the NCHSAA passed a rule that would have allowed high school athletes to begin profiting off their name, image, and likeness beginning in July of 2023. The state legislature passed a bill that took the NCHSAA's right away to make those rules and many other rules. And gave it to the State Board of Education. The State Board of Education put a hold on that rule. It did not go into effect last summer. And this past June passed a temporary rule that completely bans NIL for public school athletes in North Carolina. Meanwhile, many of the private school athletes are able to benefit off their NIL because the independent league, which is where most of the private schools play, passed an NIL policy. So there's this big controversy over public versus private now. Private schools have the ability to do something that public schools do not. And the State Board of Education is the entity that basically said no to the public school athletes having the ability to profit off of their name, image, and likeness. So what the lawsuit is saying is, put all of the, whether NIL, people think NIL is good or not, put all that to the side. What they are saying is the law that was passed by the state legislature says that the State Board of Education, this is not a direct quote, this is me summarizing, that the State Board of Education should pass guidelines that allow athletes in North Carolina to, quote, use. They use the word use, their name, image, and likeness. And so what this lawsuit is saying is the legislature directed the State Board of Education to create rules that allow kids to use their NIL. They did not give them the authority to ban NIL for high school athletes, which is what has happened. So that is the basis of the lawsuit. Now, there's obviously a lot of pieces to high school NIL that we can get into, but that is the legal basis of why they are suing.
Nick Stevens, highschoolot.com, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. So did the State Board of Education, which, I mean, I guess it's schools, so they should be involved, did they do this? The North Carolina General Assembly, which essentially took the authority away from the North Carolina High School Athletic Association for not just this, but basically everything. Did the General Assembly force the Department of Education to do this?
So we have heard from Brian Murphy at WRL talked to one of the senators, Vicky Sawyer, who was one of the leaders in all the various legislation that was passed over the last few years around high school sports. And basically, it seems like that the legislators are saying this was not their intention.
Right.
That they did not intend for the State Board of Education to ban NIL. Now, I have not talked to any of the state legislators, so I can't say firsthand. You can read the quote from Senator Sawyer in Brian's article on WRL.com. But they forced the State Board of Education to make a rule around NIL. So, I guess you could say that forcing them to make the rule is what led to this rule,
right?
To ban NIL. Now, whether or not that's what the legislators intended, I think is, open for debate.
Did the State Board of Education, I don't know the makeup of it, but did they realize that they were putting the public schools at a disadvantage? Were they unaware that the private schools allowed NIL?
If they were unaware when they passed this in June, they are no longer unaware. The NCHSAA made a presentation to the State Board of Education earlier this month about NIL. The State Board has another meeting I believe it's next week. It's next week, I believe. Anyway, they have a meeting coming up where this could perhaps become the topic again of conversation. The rule that they passed in June was a temporary rule.
Right.
So they do have to pass another rule that will become a permanent rule. And just reading between the lines from that presentation and some of the questions that the board members were asking the NCHSAA, it does seem like they realize they're going to have to do something to allow NIL in high school. I mean, most states in the country allow high school NIL, right?
Right.
We are in the minority. And, I think I'm going to back up just a minute. I think it's important for people who are not, in this day-to-day to understand what you know about NIL in college is completely and totally different from what NIL is and will be in high school sports. There are many more guidelines, many more rules, much more structure around NIL in high school. It is not pay to play. You are not going to have a situation where kids are paid to be on teams. You're not going to have situations where you have kids or schools saying, hey, every football player makes $1,000 at our school. There are no collectives allowed in high school NIL. It's just totally different. It is literally the kid and their family using their name, image, and likeness to do things like sponsors of businesses, posting things on social media, making appearances to sign autographs or speaking at a youth camp or, stuff like that. Kids selling merch with their own name on it or their, something about them on it. They're not allowed to use the school logo, the school name, the NCHSAA, anything like that. They cannot use in NIL activities. So it's just totally different than what people are used to. And I think that that's something that kind of gets missed in this because we all hear, NIL and all of the various things that have come along with that at the college level is just different. I believe it's in February of this year, the Georgia Association released some data from last fall. That was when they began NIL in Georgia. They have more than double the number of high school athletes in Georgia that we have in North Carolina. They have well over 400,000. We have about 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
They had 44 kids sign NIL deals. 44.
Yeah, and we're not talking about – that's why I wanted to separate the first part of that, the first quote. We're not really talking about life-changing opportunities, although everybody's situation is different. So even small amounts of money could amount to life-changing opportunities, but people will process this as building generational wealth in high school.
It is possible. I mean, you think about it. For most kids are never going to sign any NIL deal at all in high school. The ones who do are not going to be having life-changing amount of money usually, but it is possible that you have these elite-level athletes, and Faison Brandon could be one of them. He is the number one player in the country from the class of 2026, who have substantial opportunities to make money. In fact, in the lawsuit, it says that there is a trading card company that wants to pay him a substantial amount of money. It doesn't say how much, to autograph memorabilia before he graduates high school. So, there are kids who may have those types of opportunities. They are going to be the very elite minority of kids.
Right. Yeah.
And you won't have them every year in high school. But I think that the argument about that is, okay, well, let's say that I am one of those kids. And, maybe I am one of the few. Should the State Board of Education, the state government, be able to tell me that I, as a citizen of this country, cannot use my name or my image or my reputation or the brand that I've built for myself to make money? And I think that you're going to probably have some legal issues with that.
Oh, I think so. I want to be real quick here, and this is an editorial comment that I am making. It does seem like the State Board of Education can't have their heads buried in the sand, they must be aware of this at some level, is almost acting as though they don't want these players in public schools, like they would almost rather them be in private schools. I would be curious as to know what their personal thoughts are on public education. I'll move on from that. How quickly can this be resolved?
Good question. I think that we're hoping to talk to the lawyer that's representing the family sometime this week.
Mike Ingersoll, right?
Yes. We got a brief statement from them yesterday, but, timing is one of the questions I have. We, I think you're probably going to see some sort of hearing in the next, month or so.
Right.
That's where they're going to be, requesting a preliminary injunction. And if that is granted, it's possible that NIL could be legal pretty quick.
Good. Should be.
If not, we'll see. I also think it's entirely possible that the State Board of Education passes a rule before we even get this to court. They meet next week. We'll see. They had an NIL presentation this month. So we'll see what happens. I don't think the agenda for that is out yet.
Excellent. All right. Great work, as always. Nick Stevens, High School OT. At Nick Stevens, High School OT on Twitter. I'll do my best to make sure that I make the editorial statements so you don't get caught up in my skepticism of what people's agendas are, because I think people have agendas all the time.
Well, I don't think that's editorializing. I think everybody's got an agenda now. I won't speak to what the agenda may or may not be. But.
Nick, I appreciate your time, man.
Thanks, Adam.
You got it. Go find everything you want to know about this story at highschoolot.com. I mean, are my kid goes to a charter school. I mean, full disclosure. But to my core, I am a public school person. I don't understand the basis for, my guess is, intentionally harming public schools.
I went to public school and close to Dudley where they're at. I know
really?
Exactly where Dudley's at.
Okay. No, and that's one of the legendary programs in the state, right?
They usually have a very good basketball, but football program out there. So, yeah.
Give the kid his rights. It's pretty much that simple. It's the Best of the Adam Gold Show. When we come back, one of the all-time assistant coaches in NFL history, Tom Moore. He coached Peyton Manning and others.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
It's NFL week, and FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, is celebrating with a special offer. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com, promo code AGS to download America's #1 sportsbook today. FanDuel.com, promo code AGS for FanDuel. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
When the power goes out, your life is disrupted. Heat, air conditioning, refrigeration, phones, all gone. Be prepared for the next outage with a Generac home standby generator. After sensing a power outage, a Generac generator automatically restores your home's power, whether you're home or away. Power your life with a Generac home standby generator. Act now for a free 10-year warranty on a Generac home standby generator. Terms and conditions apply. See more at alternativepower.com. Alternative Power, North Carolina's Generac experts.
The 2024 elections are just around the corner, and older voters are are the nation's most active. The AARP North Carolina Voters Guide has information about upcoming election dates, registration deadlines, and voting options in North Carolina, such as voting by mail, early voting, or voting with a disability. Find the guide in the voters section at aarp.org/NC and listen each week to AARP Without Limits for important election news and much more. You can find the latest episodes of AARP Without Limits wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Have you lost North Carolina Medicaid? At healthcare.gov, you can find a low-cost, quality health plan.
Do plans cover doctor visits?
What about emergency care?
And prescriptions?
All covered and more. Plus, with the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
Are you struggling with your Medicare drug costs? The NC Department of Insurance SHIP program may be able to help. The Extra Help and Medicare savings programs are available for those who qualify, but you have to apply. Contact SHIP today to see if you qualify. Visit ncshiip.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212. SHIP provides free, unbiased help in all 100 counties.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
Everyone goes through tough times, and everyone can get through them, as long as they don't have to do it alone. Dial 988 if you need someone to talk to. Get what you need to get to a better place. Together, we'll find the care that works best for you. We're here 24/7. Call, text, or chat 988. 988. Let's get through it together. Brought to you by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services.
It's the best of the Adam Gold Show. How about a guy who coached Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Terry Bradshaw? The one and only Tom Moore. We have so many silly conversations on the radio. We just played a clip from ESPN where they were not really debating, but having a discussion about Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. We did it earlier with Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy. Like we have this desire, this necessity to compete and to rank. We go back a decade, we were thinking about who's better, Brady or Manning. How about somebody who coached both? Tom Moore, author of The Player's Coach. And I hate to read directly from the Amazon description of the book, Mr. Moore, and I appreciate your time. But it says here that Tom Moore is not only the oldest NFL coach ever, but he is also hailed as the greatest NFL assistant coach of all time. Why did they have to put the first line there? Why couldn't they start with the greatest assistant coach of all time? How are you?
I'm fine, but you got to have your priorities, and I guess age takes a priority.
Well, I don't know. It was certainly, I think you cut an iconic figure every time we were watching one of those games, and they cut to the sidelines, and there you are with the specs on, looking at the play sheet, calling in plays. What's the difference? Because you also coach Bradshaw. What do you think the difference is or was between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady?
Well, really, I don't think there's that much difference. They're both similar type quarterbacks. They're both pros type quarterbacks, drop back passing. They're not going to run the football. They're not going to sprint out or a lot of nakeds or bootlegs. They do a lot of play action passing, but I'd say they're more similar actually than different. And their intelligence and knowledge of the game, their work ethic, as far as doing what you have to do to be great, is just off the charts for both of them. So I'd really say they're very similar.
Did they prepare for games differently?
Not really. They both have their own little systems and own little things that they do, but time-wise, spent is probably about the same. And the big thing is that their consistency in preparation is off the charts. In other words, sometimes people can get a little lackadaisical with experience and with success, but both those quarterbacks, I'll guarantee, have prepared as hard the last game of their career as they did for the first game.
Tom Moore, legendary NFL offensive assistant coach, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. The book is called The Player's Coach, From Bradshaw to Manning, Brady, and Beyond. Let me just ask you about Terry Bradshaw, because if we looked at Terry Bradshaw's statistics today, we would go, how was that guy an NFL quarterback, let alone a legendary one? What was his evolution as a passer over the course of his career? Because you basically you were a wide receivers coach first, but then became the offensive coordinator. So you saw the transformation of Bradshaw from whatever he started out to be to what he was over the course of his career. What was his development like?
Well, I think the biggest thing that really helped him was the continuity with receivers. In other words, he was drafted, I believe, in 70, and in 74, of course, drafted Stallworth and Swan. So his familiarity with those two receivers and the continuity with those two receivers. Then I think one of the things that really helped him and helped all quarterbacks, to tell you the truth, was the change in the rules due to Mel Blount, where they did away with the bump rule.
Okay.
And you'd only jam them one time within 5 yards. So that opened up the passing game, gave you a little bit bigger window. And with the continuity and with his development and the receivers coming around, it just kind of all meshed together.
Tom Moore is joining us here. The Player's Coach is the book. A question about the book. Why? I mean, you shouldn't have waited this long to write it. Why now?
Well, a couple of reasons. Most people wait till they retire before they write a book. But I'm 85, and eventually someone's going to retire me. I'm not going to retire on my own. I understand that. But time's running out, and I understand that too. And I wanted to write a book to express, I guess, a lot of my gratitude to all these great clubs, great players, great coaches, great organizations that I worked for. I've really been blessed. I've lived a dream, and to me it's a privilege to coach the National Football League. I've always felt that way, and it's kind of a way to put my life in perspective so my grandkids, great-grandkids can read about it someday, and also thank all the people that have made this possible. The other thing that I did it for, Bill Cowher wrote a book, which I read, and after reading that book, he had so many tips in that book that I wished he'd had that book out when I first got into coaching. After I read it, I said, this book ought to be mandatory reading for all new coaches in the NFL. And in my book, I try to give a lot of tips, a lot of lessons learned, that if younger coaches read the book, I think they can gain some advantage, some knowledge of how to handle certain things.
Tom Moore is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I apologize. I didn't realize you're still a consultant for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this is what happens when you're the greatest assistant coach of all time. Everybody wants the piece of you. So you saw was it the end of the Brady era? How is it possible that somebody at the age of 44 or 45 was still that good?
Well, if you saw his regiment of training, he was unbelievably disciplined on his training procedures, his eating habits, his work habits, everything he did. He had his own personal trainer that devised all these things for him, and he took absolutely perfect care of his body so he could play that long.
Do you believe that he never had a strawberry?
Never had a what?
He said he says he's never had never eaten a strawberry. Do you believe that?
Oh, I don't know.
He likes avocado ice cream too. I don't know. Maybe that's the key.
I don't know. Everybody has their thing, and when people eat strawberries and probably played pretty well. People didn't eat them, probably played well too. So I don't know.
I just throw that in.
Right. It's an interesting topic to talk about.
You can bring that up the next time you see Tom. Like, are you serious? All right. Final area for Tom Moore, and for people who are longtime fans of the sport, they've all seen you. You've seen basically everybody. Patrick Mahomes, to you, what is he in terms of the raw ability and what takes him to another level?
Well, he just does a lot of magic with football that a lot of people have not done or not been able to do. I just referenced back to, I think, the last game where he throws a pass behind his back for a completion.
Right.
He throws sidearm passes, underhand passes. He runs, he sprints. He makes people miss, and his ability to extend plays is just beyond reason, and that's what makes him so good. And then he has such a great supporting cast. Everything in football is players, and he's got great wide receivers. He's got Kelsey, who's one of the premier tight ends, and of course Brady had Gronkowski and Peyton had Dallas Clark, and so those things all enter into it. But Mahomes he's a fantastic quarterback. The guy at Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, he's in the same category. These young guys they're something to watch now. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean they are super fun. That's the thing that really separates some of these guys is that they're super entertaining to watch. Final thing, who is the best quarterback? Of all the quarterbacks you have coached, there are some that you didn't get a chance to coach. Who is the best quarterback that you never coached?
Oh, well, that's hard to say because there've been so many great ones. And I think where you get in trouble is sometimes where you try to compare quarterbacks. All the quarterbacks have their own individual strengths, and all of them are great. You take all the quarterbacks that have gone through the Super Bowl, the Joe Montanas and Steve Youngs, and then you look back and you take the quarterbacks that didn't get to the Super Bowl, Dan Fouts and Dan Marino.
Right.
So they're all great in their own way, and it's not fair to rank them. So I never do. They're all great.
Yeah, because you work with so many, and that I've brought that up before when we have these conversations about it. I'm not sure that Dan Marino isn't the greatest passer that ever lived, but I totally understand why people say Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback or Joe Montana, which would be my choice. But I'm an older person. Tom Moore, the greatest assistant coach in the history of the NFL and author of The Player's Coach, From Bradshaw to Manning, Brady, and Beyond. I hope the book does huge numbers, and I hope you coach for another 80 years.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm going to try.
All right, good. I wish you luck. We'll do it again. When you write your next book, we'll do it again.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
You got it. Tom Moore here on The Adam Gold Show. Seriously, I just want to read this. Okay? These are the teams that he has been an NFL coach for, right? He was a wide receivers coach with the Steelers in the late 70s, early 80s, then became the offensive coordinator. Went to the Minnesota Vikings, then to the Lions, then to the Saints, then to the Colts for more than a decade. Obviously, a ton of that with Peyton Manning and the head coach there, Tony Dungy. Stayed with the Colts. Beyond that, spent a year with the Jets. I should have asked him, was he punished? Had he done something wrong
right.
to be sentenced to a year as an offensive consultant with the Jets? A year with the Tennessee Titans, then with the Arizona Cardinals for, I think, 5 seasons, and now still an offensive consultant with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I mean, even though he's on the enemy's territory, because I'm a Panthers fan, it was so cute. I loved him. I could hear all the stories from him.
I mean, yeah, we've quarterbacks. There's no position in sports like it.
Yeah.
There just isn't. In no sport is there a position like the quarterback. It's why they get all the girls.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like being a drummer in a rock band.
Well, see, I don't want to be mean to Tom Brady, but anybody who's like, you could go places with jokes with that, but
yeah, I totally understand. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, this is the Best of the Adam Gold Show. When we come back, Ryan McGee of ESPN sings to us. Not kidding.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Adam Gold in studio with my man Patrick Day from the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. When I say everything for the exterior of your home, I mean it. So tell me everything that you have for the exterior of my home.
There's so many things I can't even remember the entire list.
Good luck.
Thanks for the test here. But windows, doors, siding, roofing, gutters, gutter guards, railings, you name it. We have the exterior home improvement you're looking for. The main thing is we're a one-stop shop, right? So you don't have to call 2 or 3 different contractors if you need your roof done and you need your windows done. You can call one company and have it all done.
I like that. French doors.
French doors.
I like French doors. I can't speak French, but I like French doors. Can I tell you, back in the day, you guys did French doors and every window in a home I used to own.
Well, thank you for your business.
It was incredible. Can I also tell you that it was done in like 2 days? Is that even possible?
It is possible.
How do you guys do work that fast?
We're good.
You're fast. Good. That's Patrick Day from the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. They do the best work in the industry and the best customer service in the industry as well. AluminumCompany.com.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
UNC football is about to kick off. Join the Good Feet store in Chapel Hill for the 2024 UNC football kickoff party. Friday from 4 to 6. Free food, giveaways, UNC student athletes, and mascot Ramses. Friday 4 to 6 p.m. at the Good Feet store, Chapel Hill.
Donald Trump's back, and he's out for control.
I would have every right to go after them.
Complete control.
I will wield that power very aggressively.
And he has a plan to get it.
Detailed plans for exactly what our movement will do.
It's called Project 2025, a 922-page blueprint to make Donald Trump the most powerful president ever. Overhauling the Department of Justice, giving Trump the unchecked power to seek vengeance, eliminating the Department of Education, and defunding K-12 schools, requiring the government to monitor women's pregnancies, and Trump has also proposed severe cuts to Medicare and Social Security. Those are Donald Trump's plans.
Well, revenge does take time, I will say that. And sometimes revenge can be justified.
He'll take control, we'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message. Paid for by Harris for President.
Lenny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career and they talked to me about it.
He was done in just months.
I did do it online.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at My Computer Career.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, North Carolina's injury lawyers.
Visit GotBrian.com.
That's GotBrian.com. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on radio, web, app, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
This is the Best of the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Ryan McGee from ESPN is a brilliant college football writer, also a singer. No joke.
College football fans, are you ready? Dabble, Sweeney, Ryan Day, Jim Harbaugh to L.A., Sharon Moore, Coach DeBoer, Garrett Nuss, Mike, Connor Wakeman, Travis Hunter, Kai Kroger, Gamecock Munner, 12th man, Sooner, Schooner, champions today.
Today, we're gonna It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. I'm a huge Billy Joel fan. The first 8-track I had as a kid was The Stranger. The very first 8-track I had as a kid was The Stranger.
What a throwback.
I gotta be completely honest. I'll tell you who this is in a second. It's a redo of Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire.
It's not Billy Joel.
One of the 10 worst Billy Joel songs in creation. That's neither here nor there, but that is awesome, and it shows how much people love college football, and Ryan McGee of ESPN has actually made me like the song, and I appreciate your time, sir. How are you?
I'm good. You know, so I'm at this weird, we're doing all this preseason radio, right?
Right.
And so this is the second time this has been my walk-up music in the last week. and I saw, I'm a big Star Wars guy, and,
right.
and I recently saw a thing, Harrison Ford, this tribute to John Williams. And when Harrison Ford walked out, they played the Indiana Jones theme, and Harrison Ford, because that damn song follows me everywhere I go. And I feel like this might follow me. But yeah, it was great. Well, you'll be happy to know this as a Billy Joel guy.
Yeah.
This had to be greenlit by Billy Joel's people. And we paid some money for the rights. And then the first version I recorded in my basement, and my wife, who is an actual singer, was like, what in the hell is my husband doing in the basement right now? But the original version I recorded was to like a karaoke thing.
Right.
We had to send that to Billy Joel's people. And then they approved it. And then they took the original masters of We Didn't Start the Fire and edited up, the length of the song that we needed.
Wow.
And sent it to us. So yeah, it was quite Andrew Helpin was the producer on it, and he did an amazing job. And it was, but that thing is Cartoon McGee singing We Didn't Start the College Football Fire. I feel like they might play that at my funeral.
It is incredible. I have watched it several times. I just watched it before we came on. I appreciated at the very end the basically kudos to Lee Corso, right? The not so.
I appreciate you noticing that.
Oh no, I all of it. I didn't know the name of the quarterback you said looked like Anakin, because that goes back to your Star Wars, feelings and all of that. But when I texted you to come on, I watched this and I'm like, oh, we got to talk to Ryan to start the season. And we're going to get to football here in a second, but Terry Cashman is a songwriter that wrote Talkin' Baseball, Kluszewski, Campanella, that song from 40 years ago. right after that became a hit, he was contacted by Major League Baseball and wrote one for every team. At the time, I believe it was only 24 teams or 26 teams, so he didn't write one for the Marlins. But I think you should write one for every team in the SEC.
Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't know, and when you sent that to me, I didn't know that. I literally, I went down to the coast for a few days with my wife. It was kind of my last weekend off before hitting the road for the next 13 weekends at least. And I told my wife I had no idea. But yeah, so that song, I mean, you know this, you helped me promote it, but last year I wrote a book about the summer I worked in minor league baseball.
Right.
And that was the one, I don't think I wrote this in the book, but that was the one song that our general manager was like, you're never playing that song. Because he was tired of it. At that point, it had been out like 10 years. And he's like, I don't want to hear that song.
Right.
Okay. And so, but I had no idea. So yeah, maybe I'll, I didn't see that. Again, I have a wife who writes musicals and like sings. I had it would really make her angry if suddenly this became my career as a songwriter. So we'll see. It'd be maybe good for the pocketbook, but not good for my marriage.
Well, no, the second one is much more important. Ryan McGee, ESPN, joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. All right, it's a new college football season. I'm excited, even though I kind of dig the behind the scenes stuff that shapes college sports. I enjoy following, talking about the conference expansion. I'm not for it, but I like talking about it. All of these things, the NIL, and the way everything is changing, it kind of speaks to me and how I like that stuff. But it's time for that stuff to be set aside and play. And we're in a college football playoff era. So this is a brand new thing, and you are a college football guy to the core. So what are your thoughts as we head into a new game?
I'm ready to just get on with the games because I'm with you. I'm a junkie for the realignment talk, and you know this. My dad was a college administrator, so I've always he served on a lot of NCAA committees when I was a kid, and so I always kind of dig that part of it, but only to a point. It's like any other sport. The hot stove is the hot stove, but man, after a while, it's just like, can we please play some football? And so I think that's the part I'm excited about and we got a little taste of it, obviously. And, it was a great reminder. It's funny. I was talking to Reese Davis about this the other day, and Reese said, they all had been in Ireland with College Game Day, and he said all the talk about all this other stuff. And then Georgia Tech and Florida State reminded us we still don't know what we're talking about. And that's the best part is that for all the talk about this and that and what's it going to be like and what's it going to be like when Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC and what's it going to be like when USC, and when Indiana's playing UCLA in the Rose Bowl week 3 or whatever it is, what's that going to look like? And now we're going to know. And so I'm just excited to get on with it. And, I was talking to Mario Cristobal at Miami because I'm headed down to Florida in the morning for Florida Miami, where we're doing Marty McGee, and he's talking about the headset communication and how it's not going that smoothly yet. We saw it last weekend just in the handful of games of week 0. So now we're going to see what all this stuff is actually going to look like, and whether that's conference realignment or whether it's in-helmet communication or whether it's transfer quarterbacks, and now we can actually see it as opposed to, prognosticating, and we can all find out how bad we were at that part.
Well, a lot of people were hesitant to talk about Miami as a sneaky contender for the playoff because we have seen Miami underachieve before, but we know their roster is loaded. We know Cam Ward comes in with this incredible reputation as a big play dynamic playmaker. Who's got more pressure on them in this game, Miami or Florida? Because under Billy Napier, they have not gotten going.
No, and first of all, I personally really like Billy Napier. I love him. I remember when he was a quarterback at Furman. I mean, and what he did at Louisiana was phenomenal, and he knows how to win. And I wrote this column a year ago when Florida was going to open with Utah. And I remember writing this column, will Florida fans and the Florida administration be patient enough to let Billy Napier do what he needs to do? Because it's probably going to take 4 or 5 years. And so, of course, the answer is no. I mean, of all places, Gainesville is where, I always say, when you're the head football coach of Florida, it's like being president of the United States. You ever see those pictures of guys when they were the president, like the picture of them first day at work and the picture of them their last day at the White House, and they aged 45 years. and that's exactly what the Florida job does. Did it to Will Muschamp, did it to Urban Meyer, does it to all, Ron Zook, does it to all of them. And so, no, they're not patient enough. So the pressure is definitely on Billy. And I hope, just personally because I like him, I hope that they can get it turned around. And the reality is, he inherited a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm talking about bad dudes on that roster, and all those guys are gone for the most part. There's only a handful of guys left. He's got all those freshmen that were forced to play a year ago. They all come in now as experienced guys. And then the flip side, Mark Cristobal could be in trouble. If this doesn't go well, if he rolls in there in the Florida and they don't perform, the reality is, I looked it up just today. He's like number 13 or 14 highest paid coach in the nation. He's making $8 million a year.
Uh-huh.
They just spent a lot of money, NIL-wise, to get a lot of guys out of the transfer portal. And I love their new quarterback. The problem is Miami already turned the ball over a lot. And now a quarterback who I like a lot, that Cam Ward turns the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
And so it could go south quick. But if they were to go into Florida and win and set the tone, now suddenly they're probably the ACC favorites. But it's, week one overreaction is the best part.
It's incredible. Honestly, and I don't fancy myself a hot take artist. Ryan McGee of ESPN is joining us here in the Adam Gold Show. But I declared Florida State out unless they win the ACC, because what I saw was a team that was beaten on both lines of scrimmage by Georgia Tech, and it's just week one, so I don't want to necessarily talk about it. But my indication, my thought is that it's an indication that they're just not that good. They could be good, but maybe not that good to get all the way back. Plus, it's a conference loss, and those are almost impossible to overcome when you're looking at probably multiple teams with one loss, maybe fighting for spots in Charlotte. But let me ask you real quick before we have to say goodbye. The first game for NC State is tonight against Western Carolina on the ACC network. And you, as a Raleigh guy, but a University of Tennessee alum, that game next week is one of those games that really is going to help shape what NC State season is about. And really, like North Carolina at Minnesota tonight, the Miami-Florida game, Clemson, Georgia, really going to shape how we talk about the ACC.
Yeah, and they're already, my coworkers already calling them the McGee Bowl, because I grew up a huge State fan,
right?
They're in Raleigh, and then one of the biggest reasons that I went to school at Tennessee was it reminded me so much of State, and it's a fact. I'd moved out of North Carolina, wasn't going to be able to get back into State because back then they just were making it really hard on out-of-state students. I'm like, well, and I went to Tennessee. I was like, this feels like NC State, and so I'm going to that game. I'll be at Kentucky for South Carolina, Kentucky, and we'll freight it back to Charlotte, try to get to that game that Saturday night, which is why I live in Charlotte. And so, I always go back to Pinehurst and ACC kickoff. And I remember John Swofford was commissioner, and we were all writing that the Big East was about to tear the ACC apart, going to raid all the teams and take them away. And I remember John Swofford stood right at the podium, and he goes, if we just take care of our business in the cross-conference games, weeks 1 and 2, and if we just take care of our business in the bowl games, this will change the entire perception of the conference. And lo and behold, that's the year that Florida State made their run, to the BCS title game in the Rose Bowl. And lo and behold, the ACC tore the Big East apart, and the opposite happened. And so you're exactly right. The perception of the conference will change dramatically if Miami takes care of business, if NC State takes care of business, if you take care of business in these big cross-conference games and in your rivalry weekend at Thanksgiving, then the perception of your weakness or strength completely changes. So, I wrote it at ESPN.com this week. NC State's a playoff contender. Mm-hmm. You start moving the pieces around, and with the 12-team playoff, the ACC is going to get a couple of teams in. And there's no reason to think when you look at that roster, and I love Grayson McCall. Love Grayson McCall. I covered him at Coastal Carolina. I was there for that BYU game that night on the sideline. And so if he can stay healthy, he's a guy that can win you games that you didn't think you had a chance to win. And so we'll see. But I will be at that Tennessee NC State game, and it'll be like when I was a freshman at Tennessee, the NC State basketball team rolled into town, and I was a confused little boy.
Well, it's been a good run for the Wolfpack with men's and women's basketball going to the Final Four. Elliott Avent taking the pack to another College World Series, a second cheese rolling title in England. So Abby Lampy doing that. I mean, it's been a good run.
We had her on Marty McGee.
I know you did.
We did, and it was. But yeah, it's without exaggeration the greatest calendar year there's ever been in Raleigh for sports. I mean, at NC State, it's not. There's no question about it. And I'll throw the cheese roll in there, but there's no reason to think that momentum can't keep rolling. And Dave Dorn knows it. And now, after a dozen years, they deserve a title run. And it'd be great to see State in Charlotte, obviously, next weekend, but see them back in Charlotte in December, maybe with a chance to be in the big show the next month.
Ryan McGee at ESPN McGee. Marty and McGee, Saturday morning from Gainesville. He'll be everywhere. I appreciate your time, man. The song is great. We're going to play it again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Well, I can't wait to tell Billy Joel's people that this made you actually like that song.
Yeah, because honestly, I didn't. I haven't. That
was very obvious. Just so you know, that was, your tone was not lost on me. So we brought you around to that song.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
You got it. Ryan McGee here on the Adam Gold Show. I love Ryan McGee more today than I did yesterday, and I loved him a lot yesterday. This is the best of the Adam Gold Show, and when we come back, somebody else I have profound, deep feelings for. The one and only Wes Durham, next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
We're kicking it this fall with college football. Join 99.9 The Fan all season long and catch your favorite teams in action. The ACC, the SEC, and every conference that matters. You'll find the best matchups here.
Jordan Moore delivers, and the Blue Devils have the lead.
College football on 99.9 The Fan is brought to you by Wilkinson Chevrolet Cadillac Buick GMC in Sanford and by Amedios.
The weather is cooling down. It's time to hop back on the bike. Dennis Cox here for my friends over at Law Tigers. With temperatures dropping, I've been riding my motorcycle as often as ever, but I also know that injuries and accidents can happen. This is where Law Tigers comes in. Call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS before you call your insurance company if injured in a motorcycle accident. Your case evaluation is always free, and they do not get paid until your case settles. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. Law Tigers is a network of independent law firms who are members of the American Association of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers. Law Tigers is not a law firm.
Make the most out of summer with great deals on a great selection of Ram light-duty and heavy-duty pickup trucks. And right now, during the Ram Make This the Summer event, get an exceptional deal on the 2024 Ram 1500, the most luxurious Ram 1500 ever. Or get a heavy-duty deal on the powerful Ram 2500 and Ram 3500, the most advanced Ram heavy-duty pickups ever. Make this the summer to remember with great deals on award-winning Ram trucks. See your local Ram dealer now during the Ram Make This the Summer event, based on standard and available features offered.
Adam Gold here from my friend Dr. Lori Travers at Travers LASIK, the Triangle's only LASIK specialist. And if you are a contact lens wearer, I'm going to save you time and money. You know how much time it takes to put in contacts, take them out, clean them, and do all of that. You know how much money it costs to get all the solutions and things you need for contacts plus glasses, prescription sunglasses. Now go to Dr. Lori Travers at Travers LASIK, 919-510-6830, and get rid of all of it. Make the call, 919-510-6830, and TraversLASIK.com.
It's bow time. It's not just football season. It's tailgate season. And that includes every kind of football, whether it's got goalkeepers or goalposts.
The kick is good!
Because it doesn't matter where or how you tailgate. When you've got crispy chicken and fluffy buttermilk biscuits from Bojangles, your tailgate is better than great. It's legendary. Head to Bojangles and order your tailgate box with boldly seasoned chicken, fixins, biscuits, and legendary iced tea today. It's bow time.
Planning a tailgate? Then it's bow time. Bojangles has everything you need for the perfect tailgate, no matter how many fans you're trying to feed. There's the original tailgate, the super tailgate, and for a really big crowd, the jumbo tailgate special. And if you like your chicken off the bone, choose the Supreme's tailgate special that includes 12 perfectly seasoned tenderloin fillets. So grab the tickets, get that Bojangles tailgate special, and go. It's bow time.
The new bonus edition Buck Scratch-Off's got a first-ever bonus game in the Outback.
You mean on the back, not Outback.
What's on the back?
The bonus game.
Then what's on the front?
Prizes up to $1 million.
I thought the game was called Bucks.
It is. Just forget it.
Crikey, mate. Don't go telling people to forget it. The whole point is for them to be remembering it.
The all-new bonus edition Buck Scratch-Offs from the North Carolina Education Lottery. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning are 1 in 3.81 to 4.75. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
This is the Best of the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Happy Labor Day weekend to you. Wes Durham, the voice of the ACC on the ACC Network, joined us last week. Talk about the season, and he had the state Western Carolina game. It's time to make money, ACC. Wes Durham. What? You can't grumble yet. I'm not even done with the introduction. The voice of the Atlantic Coast Conference, the reason we turn a profit here in this good league. He joins us on the Adam Gold Show. Welcome to the season. I know you're in Raleigh coming up on Thursday night for State and Western Carolina. So that's got to be exciting. We have a lot of football to be played. But 2 games that we have to discuss, but how are you? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, no, Tom and Dana and I excited to bring the primetime show to Raleigh on Thursday night, and looking forward to being at Carter Finley Stadium, and excited to have, a sellout house and that kind of thing. And really, quite frankly, AG, looking forward to seeing NC State. I think they've got a chance to not only get off to a terrific start, I think they got a chance to have a terrific year if they stay healthy. And, of course, that's what everybody's mantra is this time of year, right? But I think the Wolfpack is one of the teams that, kind of is lurking, pardon the pun, in the shadows of what we're embarking on here in college football for sure.
So I want to dig into this for two things, and we'll start here, and then we'll work our way back to week 1 minus 1, since everybody is it really is all an extension of week 1. 2 things to me. One, the fact that you and Tom and Dana, that the A crew is here for this game, to me has a lot of respect for NC State. I know there aren't that many options on a Thursday night, but I think it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I got a question from a listener yesterday about the I guess Florida State's loss. Does it open the door for the Wolfpack? And I'm like, I think those 2 things are unrelated. I think the door has been open for NC State since all of the work Dave Doran and company did in the transfer portal, and really how they have built to this point. So to me, respect paid to the Wolfpack. And, this is an opportunity for them this whole season.
No question. I think I would agree with you. I think that NC State, the door was open for NC State before Florida State played Georgia Tech. I think, in my opinion, and I think we talked about this in Charlotte, I think there are 5 teams with a path to the ACC championship, maybe 6. But there are 5 legitimate teams with a path to the ACC championship, and thus a seat at the college football playoff table, right? And NC State was one of my 5. It's, to me, one of the easier – when you look at NC State, and you have to go back and look at the body of work. And again, I think there are 2 schools where you have to take the second half of last year and process that differently than the first half. Clemson and NC State are those 2 schools.
Right.
And I think when you look at NC State, and look, Aiden White coming back in the secondary is huge. But if healthy, Grayson McCall is going to be an impact player. Jolie at tight end, I think, is a found commodity.
Yeah.
for a team that knows how to use that position and an offensive coordinator with a track record at that position. You have, in my opinion, Concepcion, maybe the single best playmaker right now in the league on offense in terms of receiving and rushing. I think you have depth at the running back position, and you and I both know that at times last year NC State found themselves kind of homeless at running back.
Yes.
And I think you're going to be good because of your coaching and your continuity in that area. I think you're going to be very good on defense with some people that, at least beyond the walls of the building, folks don't really know who your talent level is or where your talent level is on that side of the ball. And I think it's pretty strong. And I think you've got a marquee game in the first three that if you win, people then nationally are going to pick up on your narrative. And I think that's an important part of this. I think every college football team that has major success on the national landscape now is able to churn a narrative about their season. Doesn't mean you have to go undefeated. It helps. Doesn't mean you can now lose one and be okay. And I think you can lose two in certain cases. I'm still really interested to see who gets in with 3 losses. I think that's going to be a really fascinating part as we embark on this 12-team playoff.
Yeah, by the way, NC State, and we're going to get to this in a couple minutes, but NC State has a chance to really cement that narrative in a positive way in Week 2 in Charlotte against Tennessee. But I want to go back to the Florida State-Georgia Tech game. And I want to give Brent Key a ton of credit for having a game plan that is very old school. That was an NFL-level low possession game. 7 possessions for both teams. Normally, that's a half of football in college football. That was the entirety of the game. 110 plays total. I mean, most times you see teams running 95 to 115 plays themselves. We had a total of 110 plays. But while it's going to be labeled as, bad for Florida State, bad for the ACC because their highest-ranked team took a loss in the opener, I actually think, yes, it's bad for Florida State. It's great for the ACC.
Absolutely.
Because it shows that Georgia Tech is, I think, a good football team. And I'm not saying that they're going to win 10 games, but I think they've obviously shown themselves to be good. And the more good teams you have, the higher I think your profile raises.
I think you bring up the fair points across the board. The matter of the state versus college football here is that the ACC needs to show its depth. In a year where you need to show people, hey, we've expanded by 3 schools. Okay, we've heard all the jokes about 2 coasts and all that, right? You need to show that you've got a half dozen teams. You need to show we got 17 teams playing football. Okay, well, how many of them are real contenders?
Right.
The real contenders for me, how many? 5, 6?
Yeah.
And the number needs to be somewhere like top third type thing, right, of your group.
Yeah.
And I think the ACC has the ability to show it. I don't know about Georgia Tech other than and you've heard me say this, Brent Key is the best potential coach for Georgia Tech in the current landscape of college football. Played there, graduated from there, went to school there, knows what the assignments are, knows how the administration works academically and athletically, understands the culture of today's college football, knows the recruiting, built a great staff, gets players who all buy into the same prime numbers, if you will, to be successful. And that's what you saw on Saturday, a physical football team that ran the ball. The funniest part for me was this, and I don't know, probably didn't see this tweet because now that he's retired, he doesn't tweet very much, nor does he, have a bunch of followers, and nor does he say anything really dramatically controversial. But Paul Johnson tweeted Brent Key and congratulated him on the win because they went back to the core basics and ran the ball.
Yeah. He said it in the postgame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Run the ball.
Exactly. And he said it to Katie George. He acted like Chan Gailey's offense, which was run the ball, right?
Yeah.
He acted like Paul Johnson's offense, and it worked. And you know what? I'm not going to be surprised if that's some of their prescriptions as the year goes on. But he also recognized, and I think he said it yesterday on ACC Network, they're going to be a game where Haynes King has to throw for 300 and Eric Singleton's going to catch 100 yards with the balls. I think we're going to see that happen as this league unfolds. There are going to be games where Miami's going to line up and run and win.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be games where Cam Ward's going to have to be electric. Maybe Saturday at Gainesville, for all I know.
Yeah.
The most fascinating game this weekend to me, Adam, is Miami at Florida. I think it's a hair on fire, pour gasoline all over that stadium and light it up type game, because think about how desperate both of these schools are to get this win in the first 60 minutes because of the narrative they want to stay away from. They don't want to be talked about in the negative light anymore. They've been talked about negatively now too long. They want to live in a new light, and they know the best way to do it is to win that game Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's arguably one of the – and I actually picked the 5 biggest games for the ACC this year, and that's one of my 5. Miami at Florida is one of my 5 biggest games for the entire league this year. We've got 2 of them in week 1 because I think Clemson has to – and I want to get to this topic in a second.
Sure.
Clemson has to look the part. I don't think they have to beat Georgia. They just have to look like they belong on the field with them and not get run over. Georgia's probably the best team in the country. Wes Durham is joining us here. ACC voice, the reason the league makes money. So I want to go back to Florida State.
Okay.
Because I think what we saw, we saw some flaws. We saw performances on the offensive and defensive line that didn't look like we were told they would be. DJU was DJU. It's the quarterback we saw, a better version of it, the quarterback that we saw at Clemson. But he's not awesome. He's not going to win games for you, but he can certainly be a contributor, and that was a great drive to tie it up with some big 4th down throws that he made. He also missed a bunch of shots that might have been impactful for them early in the game. But here's what I don't get coming out of this. Is like we're hesitant to say stuff about Florida State as though they're the only chance that the ACC has of winning the league or getting a second team into the field, maybe because of their name. I'll declare it. I thought it was an indicator. I thought the indication is not good enough on the lines, maybe not good enough in the passing game to win 10 games. And the schedule is really hard for them the rest of the way. At
Right.
SMU and Clemson back-to-back. 1, 2, 3 in a row. Miami on the road, home against North Carolina, at Notre Dame. I mean, do we really believe there's only one more loss plus a berth in the ACC championship game there? I personally don't. It's okay. Florida State can still be really good and be part of the league.
Mm-hmm. True, no question. And we've had the league conduct championships and successful teams, not named Florida State. I think what has to happen, though, and this goes back to the depth part, and I can kind of summarize it quickly like this: if they're not going to be good, somebody else has to be. In other words, you got to have multiple teams. So if it's Clemson, fine. If it's NC State, great. If it's Miami, great. If it's SMU, whatever the case may be. But the ACC has to find contenders. It just can't be the one lonesome dove that flies up the chimney.
Right?
It's got to be a group of teams, because that's what the SEC has. That's what the Big Ten has. That's what the Big 12 proclaims to have. And then later in the fall, you and I can have the discussion about how we take the 3rd best ACC team against the 5th best SEC team, okay? Because I think that's going to be a whole nother discussion point, and we're going to have to bob and weave the narrative on that. But that's one of the things that I think we also have to be cognizant of as this season unfolds. But, yeah, if Florida State can't put it together, that's going to be a scenario that certainly a lot of Seminole fans don't want. But it's one that the national narrative they're going to try and jump back onto for sure.
It would certainly be better if this were not a conference game for Florida State, but they've already taken on a conference loss, and again they play a difficult schedule within the league. With road trips to SMU, who I don't know is great. I don't know that SMU has a very easy schedule, so they might be part of the mix. But at Miami, home against Clemson, heck, I think the game against Memphis is going to be an issue for Florida State. It certainly will not be easy. Of course, it is at home. All right, final thing for Wes Durham, voice of the ACC, on NC State and Western Carolina coming up on Thursday night on the network. The 3 games this week. The North Carolina game is also one of those, the ACC needs it to prop up their non-conference schedule, to not lose. Basically, North Carolina's kind of a mid-table team as I go into Premier League mode. By the way, good win for West Ham at Selhurst Park this week. Good luck against Man City at London Stadium on the weekend. But, Minnesota's also a mid-table team in the Big Ten. So this is one that, on the road, North Carolina, with as many quarterbacks as they want to play, probably needs to get.
I totally agree. And I think that's the challenge is, can Carolina go on the road, beat a comparable team in terms of at least the dynamics right now, right? The demographics of Minnesota, the demographics of Carolina. If the road team gets a win there, and they, by chance, if they look impressive, especially on defense, that's going to be a positive. So I think at the end of the day, the idea here has to be, when you start to compare, like, the generic pineapple they sell in the can or the one that Dole makes, right? I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's kind of what it is in a weird deal. And I think that Mac Brown has to get Carolina off to a good start to start quieting the rumbles a little bit about, what they didn't take advantage of the last 2 years. And see, that's it. You got 3 or 4 teams in the ACC where we're still talking about what happened last year. And we all know in today's college football, more so now than ever, it's a different type team. So that's the part we also got to be recognizing. Florida State lost the other day, but doesn't mean they're discounting they can't have a good season.
Right.
They've lost 2 games in a row. I mean, and I go, but they're still capable of winning a national title, being in the college football playoff. Carolina finds themselves in that spot. You know who else does? Wake Forest. Now I think they'll win, but that's what I'm saying. You've got to take advantage of your new start. And I think that's what Georgia Tech did Saturday, that, NC State wants to take advantage Thursday night. I'm thinking of other schools in the ACC. How about Louisville? Yeah, Louisville, take advantage. Go beat Austin Peay. Let's move into the schedule. Do the things that you're supposed to do early, and I think you stay out of the negative conversations that have more to do with what you were, not what you are.
Well, what you are, West Durham, is a class act. I appreciate your time at West Durham on Twitter. Wes, Tom, Dana in Raleigh, Thursday night, 8 o'clock, NC State and Western Carolina to kick it all off. Sir, great broadcast. I will talk to you very soon.
Thanks, AG. Be well.
This is the Best of the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Happy Labor Day weekend to you. Jim Phillips is the commissioner of the ACC. Next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
My name's Kate Roper, and I live in Leicester, North Carolina. In September of 2023, I had a tumor removed from my left ear, and I just enrolled in NC Medicaid. It was just such a relief knowing that now that I'm covered by NC Medicaid, I don't have to worry about how I'm going to pay for medical treatment now. It's probably saving my life.
See if you qualify at medicaid.nc.gov.
The 2024 Atlantic hurricane season is predicted to be among the most active we've ever experienced. Prepare your home now against power outages of all types with a Generac home standby generator from Alternative Power. After sensing a power outage, a Generac generator automatically restores your home's power, helping protect you and your family. Act now for a free 10-year warranty on a Generac home standby generator. Terms and conditions apply. See more at alternativepower.com. Alternative Power, North Carolina's Generac experts.
The 2024 elections are just around the corner, and older voters are the nation's most active. The AARP North Carolina Voters Guide has information about upcoming election dates, registration deadlines, and voting options in North Carolina, such as voting by mail, early voting, or voting with a disability. Find the guide in the voters section at aarp.org/NC and listen each week to AARP Without Limits for important election news and much more. You can find the latest episodes of AARP Without Limits wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Did you and your family lose North Carolina Medicaid and need health coverage? Check this out. You may be eligible to enroll in a low-cost health plan at healthcare.gov. With the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov offers quality plans that cover doctor visits, prescriptions, emergency care, and more. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
Are you struggling with your Medicare drug costs? The NC Department of Insurance SHIP program may be able to help. The extra help and Medicare savings programs are available for those who qualify, but you have to apply. Contact SHIP today to see if you qualify. Visit ncshiip.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212. SHIP provides free, unbiased help in all 100 counties.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
When it comes to health, we're all on our own journey. Our challenges aren't always visible to those around us. You may be living with aches and pains, fatigue, shortness of breath, or other symptoms that make it difficult to manage everyday life. These problems can be the result of a variety of conditions, including long COVID, which 1 in 5 adults who've had COVID-19 may develop, according to the CDC. When symptoms linger, they could lead to feelings of isolation, but you don't have to go through it alone. For challenges like these, physical therapy is the solution. Physical therapists are the licensed healthcare providers moving you to better health. They can improve your quality of life through hands-on care, patient education, and prescribed movement. No matter where you are on your health journey, your physical therapist and physical therapist assistant can help. When we work together, we feel better together. So choose more movement. Choose better health. Choose physical therapy. Visit ChoosePT.com to find a physical therapist near you or ask your primary care provider for a referral. This message is provided by the American Physical Therapy Association.
This is the Best of the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Happy Labor Day weekend to you. Jim Phillips is the commissioner of the ACC, and he joined us late last week. I wasn't present for the, I'm not going to say angry Jim Phillips State of the ACC address at ACC football kickoff. I did watch it on TV, and I was struck, sir, Mr. Phillips, the commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference. I was struck by the determination that you presented, the state of the league. I thought it was impressive, and I thought fun, especially when we got to, we are clearly the in the top 3 of the major conferences. How are you? Thank you so much for the time. And so take me back to that. Take me back to that moment when you presented a very defiant front.
Great to be on with you, Adam. And I would just say it had been building up a little bit over the course of the last 6-8 months or so. Here's the bottom line. The bottom line is this is a very good conference that's healthy. If you look at any of the metrics athletically, 7 national titles last year, 23 in the last 3 years, leads all conference and league-sponsored sports. CFP, second most national championships, second best winning percentage. We know what the basketball looks like. I mean, we're 33 and 15 in the last 3 years. Right. We've had 4 different Final Four teams in the last 3 years. Athletically, I mean, we are healthy. Academically, it's the best conference in FBS. There's no question. U.S. News and World Report, national NCAA graduation success rates, academic performance rates, all of that. Financially, we've surpassed over $700 million. It's a 14% increase. We distributed over $45 million to each school. It's a league record. It's one of the top 3. And then, innovation, when you look at $600 million in new incremental revenue based on bringing in SMU, Cal, Stanford, all of those things, success initiatives. If you play well in football and basketball, you will be given more. Your distribution will be larger than someone else that has a 4-8 season or a 3-9 season and the rest of it. And so at the end of the day, it was a chance at that forum to set the record straight. And I think we all get distracted and our attention gets taken to different areas. And unfortunately, that's kind of been where it's been because of the legal issues. And I get it. And people are asking about that. And that is a legitimate question. That question needs to be asked. but it is overshadowed, Adam, the incredible year that the league has had and where the league is going. So that was really the statement that you're referring to back in July.
I loved it, by the way. I'm not kidding. I absolutely loved it. I'm going to ask one question about the legal issue, and you can give me a yes or no answer, and then I want to move on to the football season. Is there a chance you would settle with Florida State and Clemson?
Yeah, I'm. Again, it's a legal case. I can't really comment on it other than we are going to fight and protect a legal document that was signed multiple times by all of our schools.
That is a good enough answer. I can editorialize that on my own. All right. The optimism going into this football season, and I believe the optimism grows based on the result that we saw in Dublin, Ireland, because it's very possible, because they looked like it, that Georgia Tech is a legitimately good football team. They don't have to be playoff good. They just have to be good. And you've got NC State, which should have a good year. Virginia Tech finally coming back to the contenders. Miami might have the best roster outside of Georgia and Ohio State in all of college football. SMU, Clemson, Louisville. There's a lot of good football teams in this league. So as we head into this season, which is pivotal in the first year of the college football playoff, what's your level of optimism?
I'm really optimistic. I think you set it up well. And we're coming off a year where we had 11 of our 14 teams that were eligible for a bowl game. So when you think about that, Adam, that's pretty remarkable. That you have to be at least 6-6. Right, and we had an undefeated champion. We all know kind of how that played out, disappointing, etc. But the league in football is super healthy, and I think you mentioned it. You mentioned just tidbits. Those were two really good teams that played in Ireland. Florida State is a really good team, coached by a really good coach, and I'd say the same thing about Georgia Tech. And it was a game that literally came down to the last play of the game, right?
Yep.
But I think that bodes well. And what you have, though, is you end up cannibalizing yourself when you get into league play. So it will be important for us to have a good non-conference year. And, again, going back to last year, this is a new season, but we were 11-9 against the Big Ten and the SEC. People didn't talk about that nearly enough. We've won some great games. We got to do the same thing. Those are two really good football conferences. So the slate is clean, but we're going to have some opportunities. I mean, think about the games this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some really, really good games. I'm going to head down tonight. I'm going to go to NC State and watch them play. I'm going to try to get to the second half, maybe at Wake Forest. Tomorrow I'm going to go see Duke play. Saturday I'm going to go to Atlanta and see Clemson and Georgia play. Miami plays at Florida. Yep. So there's a bunch of good games going on already in week one, and we have to, get off to a good start and have a similar kind of record that we did last year that put us in conversation all year for the CFP. And the other good thing is that you've talked about, and you follow it really closely, Adam, and that is the expansion of the playoff really is beneficial for college football teams in the sense that you could stub your toe early in the year and still have a legitimate shot to get into the playoff. You may be able to even do it twice if it's the right opponents and the right set of circumstances. And so perfection last year didn't warrant, a bid. This year that will be different. It really will be. And I think that's good for college football. I think it's really good for the college football fan that has great interest. And I don't think it lessens the regular season at all. But, again, really excited about the upcoming year in ACC football.
I personally think Florida State's exclusion was more about Alabama and the fact that so many people on that committee couldn't unwrap their minds around how can we have a playoff without the SEC. Way more than it was about Florida State. I thought it was a convenient excuse. And there are probably other factors that I won't get into. You mentioned Jim Phillips, commissioner of the ACC. You mentioned the financial success. So the ACC network has been, even by ESPN's admission, a huge financial boon for them. You guys split the revenue, the proceeds of that, down the middle. How much more growth do you anticipate with the network? You have to be happy with how it's gone over the first several years.
I have, and so have our schools. I mean, it's provided millions and millions of dollars for our schools, and I have been pleased. And we went up there last week before going to Ireland to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the ACC network, and it has prospered even more than I think initially was thought it could do. 2 new markets, 2 new states, Dallas, Fort Worth, as I mentioned, Northern California.
Right.
So getting distribution in those areas will really be important for us as we look to grow the revenues and all the rest of it. And there's 2 parties that are both motivated, as you described perfectly well. We're 50-50 partners in this joint venture, and so that's not going to stop. We're going to continue to be aggressive in how we can generate additional revenues for our schools, and the network's going to be a key piece of it.
On-field signage, uniform signage, helmet signage, sponsorships, title sponsorships. Where do you stand on all of this? How much of it has to be approved at a national level? Yeah, a lot of it, Adam, another really good question. A lot of it has to be approved by the football competition committee, whether it's on the field, and there's been some leeway there, but uniforms, helmets, and those kinds of things. But we are aggressively, as we have done, we're aggressively looking at all of our assets within the ACC to see how we monetize them to the greatest level. And you saw that with the addition of Cal, Stanford, and SMU to generate another $600 million for the legacy schools, which are the schools that obviously are part of the ACC prior to them joining on July 1st of this year. So we'll continue to be innovative and creative. We have to continue to be forward-thinking in the business area, and I'm very pleased at how this has grown, certainly in my 4 years as commissioner, and kind of where it's headed in the future. I would sell everything. I would have a different sponsorship written on the 10-yard line in that 10-yard block, and then the 20-yard block, and then the 30-yard block. I would sell absolutely everything, make as much money, make everybody happy. That's probably over the top. All right, final question for Jim Phillips, commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference. And you and I think, are philosophically aligned in this. We have in our mind what college sports is about. It's about the experience. It's about the opportunity to play not only football, but for all sports, all the way through the Olympic sports. And credit to the league for claiming Katie Ledecky as an ACC athlete. I loved that. I laughed so hard it was beautiful. Tiger Woods too, by the way. We should claim Tiger Woods. But today's college football is clearly not. There's an element of greed, not an element. Greed has overwhelmed college sports. I know you well enough to know that this doesn't sit well with you. So how do you weigh your own personal beliefs as to what college athletics should be about and where football has taken everybody? Yeah, I would say this. I call it a reset. Just a major reset in the history of college sports, and I think that's how it's going to be looked upon as we look back in the years to come. The opportunity for student athletes has never been greater as it relates to monetizing their name, image, and likeness. You've talked about on your show before. If the House case goes through and Judge Wilkins signs off, there'll be up to 22% of revenue coming into athletic departments through tickets and sponsorship that could go to student athletes. Those will be really local decisions. Schools will decide what they want to do, school by school, and how much and what student athletes will be provided. But at the heart of it, and it's to your question, Adam, and that is, we can't lose the focus on this is about access and affordability in higher education for young people. And besides the GI Bill, student athletes are second in scholarships and grant and aids and an ability to go to college.
like $4.1 billion a year. We don't want to lose that because 99% of these kids are not going to be professional athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's revenue for them to be able to earn while they're in college, all for it. I'm a father of 5, 2 of them are student athletes. I get it. I'm happy for them. And you can't kind of wring your hands of, hey, yesteryear, and this is, I can't believe we've got to this point. We are at this point. So let's embrace it and do the very best we can. But let's not overlook that this is about getting a degree, by getting an education in one of the great schools across the country, wherever it is. And that at the end of your playing career in college, and if you're not fortunate enough to be a professional athlete, that you are ready to enter the real world and be a really productive leader, citizen, in this country or wherever you decide to move to. That's important to me. It really is. Graduation and academics still remain part of the ACC in a big way. That's why I'm really prideful of, I think it's the best conference in the country from an academic standpoint, as well as athletic and other areas. So you got to get your arms around it. It is different. But what I think the beauty is, and I saw it again in Ireland, is when the whistle blows and the ball's kicked off in the sport of football, everybody kind of goes back to rooting for their team. And some of the side stuff and some of the elements that are surrounding us, not only in college sports, but in the world or in our country, kind of disappear for a period of 3 hours. And that's a beautiful thing. So we're going to continue to take care of it. We're going to continue in the ACC to be a leader in college sports because there's such great benefit for student athletes, coaches, fans, alums, people that love sports like you and I. And I really believe the future is bright. So away we go.
Jim Phillips, Commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference. I've kept you too long. Apologies to anybody I need to apologize to. You're a gem. I appreciate your time. Hopefully we can talk again and get even further in depth on a lot of these things in the future. Good luck. Have fun on your trip this week. You're going everywhere.
I am going everywhere. You need to come with me sometime, Adam.
I'd do it. I would absolutely do it.
All right. Thanks. Thanks for having me on.
This is the best of the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Happy Labor Day weekend to you. When we come back, Armin Katayan on the state of play of college football today.
Serving it up hot and fresh every day. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Want to score points with your boss? Recruit RoofWorks to your building maintenance team to handle your commercial roofing needs. Hi, this is Holly with RoofWorks. We've helped hundreds of Triangle businesses with their commercial roof maintenance, repairs, and if necessary, total replacements. Our pros come to your site, assess your roofing needs, and then give you a range of options to fit your budget. And we'd love to work with you. For roof maintenance and repair, contact us today at roofworks.com. That's roof, WERKS.com.
Huge Labor Day sale at Atlantic Spas and Billiards in Raleigh on Glenwood Avenue. Come see the Triangle's leading hot tub, pool table, and sauna store for over 37 years. Big discounts on hot spring spas, Caldera spas, and endless pool swim spas. Huge selection of pool tables, game tables of all types, and Finleo saunas. Big grill discounts from Kamado Joe and Memphis Pellet. Everything in stock and ready for Labor Day. Save at Atlantic Spas and Billiards, the leader in hot tubs, swim spas, pool tables, and saunas. Now through Labor Day week, 8721 Glenwood Avenue, Raleigh.
Discover Youngsville Gun Club and Range, conveniently located just off of US 1 in Youngsville. It's Victoria Boatnecker here for YGC. Join us on September 11th from 6 to 8 p.m. for a free situational awareness seminar. Learn essential safety skills from experts with practical tips for everyday situations. Reserve your spot today because spaces are limited. As your online and local gun store, indoor range, and education center, they offer top-notch facilities with expert training. Learn more at ygunrange.com. That's ygunrange.com.
Veterans, did you know VA mortgage rates have plummeted and you can now access up to 100% of your home's equity and turn that into cash right now? Hey, it's Roger Moore, President and CEO of Loan Pronto, announcing our VA Equity Advantage program. This VA offer can get you $50, $70, $100,000 cash out with no junk fees and no hassle, with APRs in the 5s. You You can pay off all those credit cards, personal loans, car loans, and get one easy-to-manage payment. Veterans we help save on average $850 per month. And listen, if you're a veteran with a current mortgage rate over 6.25%, we can do a streamlined refinance with no income verification and no appraisal, saving you hundreds a month. At Loan Pronto, we respect what you've done for our country, and we show it. Call now and ask about our special VA Equity Advantage program. 919-381-1760. 919-381-1760. LoanPronto.com. 919-381-1760.
Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS consumeraccess.org.
When you're high, you feel different. Pretty obvious, right? You think different, talk different, but if you feel different, you drive different. So if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The new bonus edition Buck Scratch-Off's got a first-ever bonus game in the Outback.
You mean on the back, not Outback.
What's on the back?
The bonus game.
Then what's on the front?
Prizes up to $1 million.
I thought the game was called Bucks.
It is. Just forget it.
Crikey, mate. Don't go telling people to forget it. The whole point is for them to be remembering it.
The all-new bonus edition Buck Scratch-Offs from the North Carolina Education Lottery. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning are 1 in 3.81 to 4.75. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
Hello? Hey, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. Did you know we've got you fully covered?
I've taken up beekeeping. I'm always covered.
I'm talking the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage at up to half the cost.
Same honey? Half the work?
Exactly.
Sweet.
Just call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2023.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, Raleigh's injury lawyers.
Bounces his way into the end zone. Touchdown!
Visit GotBrian.com.
That's GotBrian.com. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on radio, web, app, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Happy Labor Day weekend to all of you. It's Adam Gold. This is the best of the Adam Gold Show. Big hour, and we started off with Armin Katayan on the way of the world of college football today. Armin Katayan joins us on the Adam Gold Show. First of all, thank you very much. Apologize to John for me for calling him Jeff. I was confusing other co-authors of
You're probably thinking of Jeff Benedict at that point, because I was thinking of the system when you were talking about how things have changed, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we did the system in 2013, and that's like, I don't know, eons ago compared to what we're witnessing now.
It's funny. I feel like I've spoken with you a few times about various books. I know Tiger Woods' book, but I feel like we have spoken about this issue before. So the dramatic difference, we had Boo Corrigan on, NC State's athletic director, yesterday, and I tried to leave it open, the first question, to find out where his head was at. I just said, what concerns you right now? And he said House versus the NCAA, which was an antitrust lawsuit brought against the NCAA, and they settled it. The settlement has not been approved yet by a judge, so we don't know if it's going to be approved or not. We'll find out next month. But that's going to be, a cataclysmic change where schools are going to have to come up with a $20 million line item. They don't have to get to $20 million, but those that choose to be competitive probably will. And that's going to have to be paid directly to players, past and present. What do you think the biggest change has been over the last couple of years?
Well, I think, certainly the House case, is when the Supreme Court rules, as it did in July of 2021, unanimously, and I can't remember the last time this Supreme Court ruled words. I think it's money, want, and greed. Certainly, if you look at the destruction and the demise of the Pac-12 in a matter of 48 hours, and we have a chapter on that called Unrealistic. And then I just think it's self-interest, because it's the wild, wild west right now, and nobody knows for sure where anything is going. And I look at it, I was thinking just before I came on, I'm thinking about NC State, and they're one of those schools that's just right in the middle of this, and they're getting bombarded on all sides. And do they have the money? Do they have the the collective? Do they have the wherewithal to withstand it and remain a top 25 football program? And that takes nothing away from the talent, but it also, the headwinds now and the cross currents are so wide and so deep and so strong that even the premier programs, I mean, you look at what happened last year, Adam. At the end of the season, you had arguably the two singular figures in college football, Jim Harbaugh on one coast, sitting out there in Huntington Beach in his motorhome, having decided he wanted no part of the NCAA investigation and what the Committee on Infractions was doing, and Nick Saban, arguably the greatest college football coach in history, on the other coast in Jupiter, Florida, looking out at the Atlantic Ocean, really wanting no part of the complete lack of control that he now had over his program. So I think that's what the price does. It talks about not just in fact, I know what the price does. It talks about not just the financial situation, the toll being taken there, but the psychological and the emotional and the physical exhaustion that these coaches are going through at this point, and athletic directors like Boo Corrigan. A lot of them have just headed for the exits. They don't want any part of it anymore.
Armin Katayan is joining us here, co-author of The Price, What It Takes to Win in College Football's Era of Chaos. To me, it comes down to, at least, in many levels it always does, control. Coaches used to control everything, and they have lost the control. Like a lot of you have leverage. Coaches could have leverage over players, and now that players have more power, players have more leverage. Not every coach has handled that well. Most coaches get compensated very well, regardless. As somebody has said to me, that's what the money is for. While you get paid all that money, how much is Jimbo Fisher getting paid to not coach at Texas A&M? How much of it boils down to coaches have lost control?
I think a lot of it is that. I mean, certainly when you have two transfer portals, and I know just this last week the NCAA has been talking about closing the spring portal. It's just chaos. You don't even know who your locker room is. Right. And then you add in NIL money and you have, let's say, a highly touted either transfer student or high school recruit who comes in, and either they start talking about how much money they are being paid, or the word gets out how much money, and they haven't done one thing on a football field, on a college football field, certainly within that program, to prove that they're worth that money. And the loss of structure within the locker room and the chaos within the locker room is just another thing that coaches haven't had to deal with. But I mean, let's be honest here. There's an old proverb, you reap what you sow. And the NCAA has had time and time again opportunities in court to settle or share what are now billions of dollars that are coming in principally from college basketball, but from sponsorships and their corporate partners program. And time again, all they did was delay and deny, delay and deny. And there's a really good chapter. I've known Sonny Vaccaro for a long time, and he was the driving force behind the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit. And there's the story behind that. And that O'Bannon lawsuit, which led to the profound ruling by Judge Wilkin out in the 9th District out in Northern California, which then led to the Alston case, which led to the House case, which led to NIL. A high-ranked NCAA official said to me, Armin, we had ample opportunity time and time again to take and I thought it was an interesting phrase, the air out of an overinflated tire. But we've just refused to do it because there was so much money involved. Well, now that money has to be shared. And I don't think anybody has a realistic idea beyond the $20 million that they say, if Judge Wilkin approves, that schools have to share with thousands of athletes dating back to 2017, what the future looks like. And I can tell you from reporting that we did in Congress, certainly the current Congress that we're dealing with, I don't think the answer is in Washington, D.C. So somebody like Charlie Baker, who I think is a very pragmatic politician and maybe the best president the NCAA has had in recent years, or as someone said to me, he may well be the last president the NCAA has if things don't get straightened out. I think it has to come from the association.
Yep.
But Adam, I'm telling you, there's so many people that are so worried about themselves right now. Will they survive if there's a breakaway group? Can they compete? There's a chapter called Macy's that John wrote. There's two of them really that are just fantastic. And it's like, imagine being Macy's, right? You have Saks Fifth Avenue on top. You have your premier programs, the Alabamas and the Ohio States and the Michigans. And then you have your programs that are below that. You have like Biff Pogge's program who's struggling with Charlotte. But Mike Loxley at Maryland, he's getting eaten away on both ends because he's losing players to Charlotte who want to play right away. And he's losing players to the big programs who are so good that he's developed. They're now starting at a Big Ten school, a different Big Ten school or an SEC school or a Big 12 school. So the last place you want to be in college football right now is Macy's. And that's a lot of these programs feel like that's where they're at. And that's not good for the sport.
No, and I have shopped at Macy's before. I'm appreciative of what Macy's has to offer. Armin Katayan, author of The Price. All right, I want to get to it. There's so many. We could talk forever about this. It's a fascinating conversation, and it is kind of a glance inside of how it could be a house of cards is really what I think what I'm sure you guys get out in the book, because we don't know what's next. We don't know because you mentioned a breakaway. I think of football breaking away from everything else because football is now the overwhelming majority of all of these TV contracts. What role do the networks have? The Disneys, the Foxes, CBS. What roles do they play in all of this?
It's huge. They were the driving force. Fox was the driving force. And there's a chapter we talk about, not only in Unrealistic, but Bobby Robbins, the current president of the University of Arizona, who was in the middle of the demise of the Pac-12. The grant of rights, where schools, as you well know, bundle all their television rights together, the grant of rights money now is so big. And when Fox offered $30 million to first USC, then to UCLA to make the switch to the Big Ten, that was the beginning of the end of the Pac-12. There's no reason, as a high-ranking television executive at ESPN told me, he goes, that was the beginning of the end. There's no reason on God's green earth that USC belongs in the Big Ten.
Right.
But in the end, when Washington and Oregon were offered $30 million each in order to make the transfer for no other reason than for television rights and for a bigger share of those markets, they jumped at the chance. And that was, I go back to the self-interest rule here. So I think the media companies and the grant of rights money is what's driving all this realignment and is what's driving all this change, because, as I said, these schools are so fearful of being left out when that music stops that there isn't a chair left. NC State's a perfect example. It's got an up-and-coming, really strong football team. But what happens if somebody decides, okay, we're going to blow up the ACC or we're going to merge with all these other conferences? Are they going to be left without a seat? I don't know. Those are the kinds of programs that have history to them and have a great fan base. But in the end, when money's making the decisions, sometimes you don't have a choice. The choice isn't yours.
Armin Katayan, we could talk forever. I hope the book does great. I know it will. The Price, What It Takes to Win in College Football's Era of Chaos. Come back again. We'll talk about. You'll be back the next time you write a book, whether it's with John or Jeff or somebody named Jerry. We'll figure it out. But I appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks, Adam. You bet. Thank you.
Armin Katayan. Can also follow him on Twitter at Armin Katayan. Coming up next on the Best of the Adam Gold Show, NC State Athletic Director Boo Corrigan. Next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Keep pounding. Panther Talk, Panthers Playbook. The Paw Print. Follow your Carolina Panthers all season with us.
Stacked receivers both to the right and the left. Hubbard, the running back to the right side of Young, who's setting up to throw. Over the middle, wide open, touchdown as the Panthers tight end, the veteran Jordan Matthews, scores on the opening drive for Carolina.
Your home for complete Carolina Panthers coverage. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports leader.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Hey, Katie. Hi. Let's embark on a performance calibration initiative synthesizing qualitative and quantitative metrics for this past fiscal year.
If Heineken Silver was corporate jargon, it would have all the info you need. None of the annoying gibberish.
What I was trying to say is, you crushed it last year, Katie. Lady, you are getting a big, fat bonus.
Heineken Silver, world-class light beer. Only 2.9 grams of carbs and 95 calories. All the taste, no bitter endings. Order now at Heineken.com/silver. Must be 21 and older to purchase. Enjoy Heineken responsibly.
It's bow time. It's not just football season. It's tailgate season. And that includes every kind of football, whether it's got goalkeepers or goalposts. The kick is good! Because it doesn't matter where or how you tailgate. When you've got crispy chicken and fluffy buttermilk biscuits from Bojangles, your tailgate is better than great. It's legendary. Head to Bojangles and order your tailgate box with boldly seasoned chicken, fixins, biscuits, and legendary iced tea today. It's bow time.
Planning a tailgate? Then it's bow time. Bojangles has everything you need for the perfect tailgate, no matter how many fans you're trying to feed. There's the original tailgate, the super tailgate, and for a really big crowd, the jumbo tailgate special. And if you like your chicken off the bone, choose the Supreme's tailgate special that includes 12 perfectly seasoned tenderloin fillets. So grab the tickets, get that Bojangles tailgate special, and go. It's bow time.
I'm Kamala Harris. Here's a few things I believe. Middle-class families, like the one I grew up in, they want common sense solutions. You want lower prices and lower taxes. I believe you want to just not get by, but you want to get ahead. We must create an opportunity economy where everyone has a chance to get a car loan, buy a home, start a business. And I believe we can make that happen.
Kamala Harris's plan? Bring down costs by cracking down on corporate price gougers. Make homeownership more affordable for families. A middle-class tax cut for 100 million Americans. And make sure billionaires and big corporations pay their fair share so you can keep more of the money you've earned.
Instead of being focused on the politics of the past, we need to be thinking about the future and how we make it better for families like yours. I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
Make the most out of summer with great deals on a great selection of Ram light-duty and heavy-duty pickup trucks. And right now, during the Ram Make This the Summer event, get an exceptional deal on the 2024 Ram 1500, the most luxurious Ram 1500 ever. Or get a heavy-duty deal on the powerful Ram 2500 and Ram 3500, the most advanced Ram heavy-duty pickups ever. Make this the summer to remember with great deals on award-winning Ram trucks. See your local Ram dealer now during the Ram Make This the Summer event, based on standard and available features offered.
This is the Best of the Adam Gold Show. A lot of good things happening at NC State. Let's talk with A.D. Boo Corrigan.
What a time to be a State fan. Final Fours in both men's and women's basketball last year, another College World Series, a second cheese rolling championship, the Gloucester Cheese Rolling Championship in England. You're doing a great job over there, sir.
Yeah, I can't take credit for the cheese rolling or really credit for any of it. We got a great group of people here, Adam. And as you said, we got the job that Coach Doran's done. But, you know, you look up and down our coaches with Lori Hennis winning 3 straight national championships in women's cross country, and the job that Kevin and Wes did this year, and Kim Landris and Braden Holloway and Pat Papaluzio, and those are, you know, ACC champions or Final Four, and Elliott going to the College World Series again. You know, as I jokingly said the other day, if you're if you have a child that's 10 years old, all they know is championships. It's a pretty good place to be living.
There's no question. Also, some Olympic hardware as well. I guess not all of it was for USA, right?
Yeah, no. It's I believe we had 9 different countries represented, including the U.S. and preponderance of those would be in swimming. But Diana Snyder won a silver medal in the women's doubles. In tennis, and just a really exciting time to be a part of it.
Boo Corrigan, athletic director at NC State, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. So I'm just going to leave the first question open for you, and we'll kind of work off that. As you see the landscape right now in intercollegiate athletics, what do you think the most pressing issue is?
Well, honestly, I think it's whether the judge accepts the settlement, right?
You're talking about House versus the NCAA?
I am. I apologize. Yeah, in the House case, and we'll find out more on September 5th is a date for everyone who's a sports fan or college sports fan to really look at. That's the day where we'll get a preliminary read from the judge on whether to accept the plaintiffs and the NCAA settlement. And that goes to the $2.766 billion going backwards, as well as the 22% of revenue. And think about the revenue in terms of the television, the multimedia rights, the ticket sales, and coming up with an average. And that average we are thinking right now is about $20 million that would be there from a revenue share standpoint. So, once that settlement becomes official, and really it may not be official until March or April of 25 with an implementation of July 1 of 25. But I think that's the one thing that to me is really out there that, maybe some assumptions are being made that it's already settled and already been approved. But, the September 5th date is a really big date. All that being said, I got a T-shirt that someone gave me that says "Change has no off season."
Right.
And boy, does that feel like the case for the last 3 or 4 years.
Boo Corrigan is with us here on the Adam Gold Show. So September 5th, we'll be watching. Are you rooting for one or the other? This does not have to mean that you're against direct payments to athletes, but are you rooting for the judge to toss aside the settlement, or are you cool with how it's already been kind of laid out?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I think one of the big concerns that I have is around the settlement. Are there some protections with regards to similar lawsuits that would come forward? Part of this is the idea that, similar cases can't be brought against the NCAA and against college sports. If there's great strength in that piece of it, Adam, I think it makes a lot more sense. The ability, and I've been for our student athletes and being able to maximize their opportunities since this came up. So it's not certainly not against our students and the value they bring, but whether or not we're going to continue to get sued at the rate that we are right now is a big concern.
Yeah, I'm not sure the only way to avoid that isn't some sort of antitrust protection or exemption, rather, that you would have to get through Congress. But I'm not entirely sure that relying on Capitol Hill to, this is probably not the right phrase, bail out college sports. I'm not without the ability to search my brain to come up with a better phrase, I'll just use that. Relying on them probably isn't a great idea.
I think, I would talk about it a little bit different. I think college sports is part of the fabric of America.
Mm-hmm.
right? And whether that's, NC State and the other members of the ACC in the state of North Carolina or East Carolina or, App State or Western or Elizabeth City, right? I mean, it's part of, and there's districts around the country and around the state where, college athletics is really important.
Yep.
And I don't think people want to see it implode, right, and go away. And with some of the lawsuits and growing in numbers, it becomes harder and harder. And really where it becomes harder and harder, Adam, is the number of opportunities that are available, right? And as those numbers go down, that does affect people and young people, and it affects potentially, the Olympic movement with the number of former student athletes that represented the U.S. and other countries, right, in the Olympics this year. I think it's a bigger picture than, going to Congress hat in hand. I think it's, what can we do moving forward to protect the number of opportunities that are available. We have 550 student athletes, and, I think if you throw in football and basketball, you still got more than 3/4 of them are non-football and basketball players, right? And students. So again, it's about a bigger, broader picture of what's going on. And, we are looking for help from DC in that respect.
Boo Corrigan is joining us here, NC State Director of Athletics. I'm not in any way saying that that's incorrect, that it's not a part of the fabric of the United States. I just my whole point from the beginning has been looking for help from them is probably from Congress. Just it's a long shot. They can't. Well, we all know what the legislative process looks like. We don't. That's for a different show, not a sports show. Boo Corrigan. We can. If I was hosting at a different radio station,
I concur with you. I concur with you on that. This is not. This is not a sports topic. That being said, I do think the importance of college sports, and whether it's with the Chamber of Commerce around football and basketball games, and the number of people coming into the community, right, to the hotels, to the restaurants, to everything. It is a part of it, and it's a great point of pride for 225,000+ NC State graduates.
No question.
And the enjoyment they get out of our success and our ability to lift the brand, if you will, and last March you look at our women's basketball program taking down 3 significant brands in Tennessee and Stanford and Texas, and going to the Final Four, and really men's basketball team to a large degree kind of captivated the NCAA tournament, right?
Oh yes,
the joy that they played with, and DJ Burns looked a little bit different than a lot of other people, but I think one of the things that he looked different about was his ability to smile and have fun. And you can see that our players enjoyed each other, enjoyed playing together, and really enjoyed representing this great university.
All right, a couple of more things for Boo Corrigan. I know we don't have a ton of time, but I appreciate your time to come on the program. Have you thought, I'm sure you have, because you wouldn't really be as good at your job as you are if you hadn't. Have you thought about how, assuming let's just say September 5th, we're full go with the settlement, House versus the NCAA, have you figured out how you're going to come up with $20 million per year?
We're looking at everything, right? And as you do, the ability to be creative with what you're doing from a revenue standpoint, and what we're not going to do, Adam, and this is a commitment from all of us here, is all of a sudden our ticket prices go up 50%.
Right.
Right. And parking goes up 100%. And we're going to do it from that standpoint on our fans. Are there going to be some increases? Sure there are. But, last time I went to the grocery store, the bill was a little bit more than I feel like it was, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So, we've got to be creative with what we're doing. And, Does that mean we're looking at, maybe additional events in Carter Finley? I know that, the Rolling Stones have been here in the past.
Yes.
Beyonce's been here in the past. And, could we look at that as a potential revenue stream? How creative can we be from a sponsorship standpoint? Continue to talk to our donors about it. Worry about donor fatigue for sure in what's going on. But one thing we do know for sure is that we are going to be competitive, that we want to be competitive. And, to a large degree, we went through some of this when NIL came about, right? And everyone was very nervous about it. If you look back on last year, I think we managed NIL pretty well, right? And we're going to continue to do the same thing and be methodical in our approach and be creative in our approach and find solutions.
Are Olympic sports in jeopardy at NC State?
We want to be great in everything, right? I mean, you look at the depth of our programs and where we are. And, I talked about it the other day, Braden Holloway.
Yeah.
And the job that he's done. And, Braden ends up being one of the assistant coaches on the Olympic team. We end up, Catherine Burkhart, is winning medals, and that's great representation. But, Simon Earnshaw in our women's tennis program, and Pat Papalizio with wrestling, and Kim Landris with gymnastics. And, we've gotten to a point where we are, we are competitive on a national level. We are winning ACC championships. In fact, if you look back in the last 5 years, we have 4 more ACC championships than any other school in the conference. And, our goal is to continue to provide opportunities for young people to compete for championships in the ACC, which means you're competing nationally.
Yeah. I'm not sure you answered the question. So let me just restate it real quick. Cause you might not have the answer to this right now. Are Olympic sports, at least some, to some degree, in jeopardy? If the answer is yes,
you're looking for something, and I did just answer it.
Okay,
and that is we want to be great at everything.
All right.
And if we have 22 sports, we want to be great in 22 sports, and that's been our approach since we got here, is to be in line with our coaches and to provide the support that they're looking for, and continue to move on. The journey of a women's soccer player or men's soccer player or a track athlete, is important to them, and therefore it's important to us. And we've been providing these opportunities, and we look forward to providing them moving into the future.
Would it make sense to restructure college sports to where there was just a whole lot less travel? I know Stanford's in the ACC, but would it make sense for Stanford to not be in the ACC for all the sports not named football? It would, of course, mean we couldn't count KatieLedecky's medals. But would it make sense to kind of go back to the old league structure and just let football do its own thing?
I think there could, in time around football, could it look different from a overall structure standpoint? Could it look different from a management of? Yes, I think it could. And in a lot of ways, I think it should, right? And look different.
Yeah.
But then at that point, what happens with men's basketball? What happens with women's basketball? I think, solving one problem and creating 2 or 3 or 4 does not make sense. If you look at our schedule, there's a number of sports in tennis and golf and track and cross country, and those that aren't traveling to Stanford or traveling to Cal, and their scheduling is not dependent on the ACC from an overall competition standpoint. But, we went through a little bit of this in and around the COVID season and scheduling more regionally. And, that becomes part of being creative and part of being solution-oriented, is to find ways to make sure that you're maximizing the competitiveness, that you're maximizing the opportunity to compete for championships, while at the same time being smart about how you do that.
Final thing for Boo Corrigan, NC State Director of Athletics. Are you happy to be off the college football playoff selection committee?
You know what? It was a real honor to be a part of that. That being said, I think 3 years is the right amount of time, right, to be on that committee.
Right.
I think the idea of fresh names and thoughts and growth within that committee, would I do it again? Yes, I would. It's a real honor to be, like I said, to be on that committee and, to be that engrossed in college football. And in that room with people that share the same passion for it. It was a great thing to be a part of, but 3 years seems like the right number.
Yeah, the only reason I brought it up is that the year you're the chair is the first year we really had real controversy. It's been pretty much a cakewalk for everybody else. You get thrown into the deep end with what happened to Florida State. That's why I'm done with this. Let me go watch the game and just enjoy it.
Yeah, I was the chair for 2 years.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
And even with that, what seems like, to the outside a layup or a 20-yard field goal that everyone's counting on, you're still going through the same process, and you're still making sure that you get it right. And every year that I was on the committee, the 1 year. Cincinnati got in as the number 4 seed, and people were upset about that, right? So, there was always a case of people feeling like they, had a good argument, and I can tell you as a committee, we went over it again and again and again, and last year was sure it was the most difficult year that we had on the committee, but, as the spokesperson, you're speaking for 13 people. Right? And 13 people all with the same vote. And, we've been able to spend some time together. Being in front of the camera and being that is not always my favorite part of my job, but I did understand what the role was as the chair and hopefully represented the committee well.
Yeah, you have to take all the slings and arrows for everybody else. I appreciate your time. Boo Corrigan, NC State Director of Athletics here on the Adam Gold Show. Appreciate it. Hopefully I'll see you soon at a game. It might be a hockey game, but I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Adam. Go Pack.
You got it. Boo Corrigan here on the Adam Gold Show. Coming up next on the Best of the Adam Gold Show, we head to the baseball diamond. Elliot Johnson joins us next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
It's NFL week, and FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, is celebrating with a special offer. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV, and then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com, promo code AGS to download America's #1 sportsbook today. FanDuel.com, promo code AGS for FanDuel. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
NC Medicaid is for people just like me.
Adults who don't have children.
People who serve.
People who do the heavy lifting.
Child care teachers. Full healthcare coverage at low or no cost.
Doctor's visits, emergency rooms, and prescriptions.
So if you applied before and didn't get it, apply again.
NC Medicaid covers more people than ever before.
Get full healthcare coverage at low cost, no monthly fees, and $4 max copays. NC Medicaid is for more people. See if you qualify at medicaid.nc.gov.
Some call it overplanning. At Alternative Power, we call it foresight. Be prepared for the next power outage with a Generac home standby generator. After sensing a power outage, a Generac generator automatically restores your home's power, whether you're home or away. Generac, it's not just a generator, it's a power move. Act now for a free 10-year warranty on a Generac home standby generator. Terms and conditions apply. See more at alternativepower.com. Alternative Power, North Carolina's Generac experts.
The 2024 election
elections are just around the corner, and older voters are the nation's most active. The AARP North Carolina Voters Guide has information about upcoming election dates, registration deadlines, and voting options in North Carolina, such as voting by mail, early voting, or voting with a disability. Find the guide in the voters section at aarp.org/NC and listen each week to AARP Without Limits for important election news and much more. You can find the latest episodes of AARP Without Limits wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Having health insurance is important. So, if you or anyone in your family has Medicaid or CHIP, listen up. Check your mail for a renewal form from your state. Complete the form and mail it back right away so you don't lose your coverage. If you do lose Medicaid or CHIP, visit healthcare.gov to see if you're eligible to enroll in a low-cost, quality health plan. Keep your family covered. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
Are you struggling with your Medicare drug costs? The NC Department of Insurance SHIP program may be able to help. The Extra Help and Medicare savings programs are available for those who qualify, but you have to apply. Contact SHIP today to see if you qualify. Visit ncshiip.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212. SHIP provides free, unbiased help in all 100 counties.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
And let's wrap up the Best of the Adam Gold Show Labor Day weekend extravaganza. Talk a little baseball with Durham Bulls legend, Elliot Johnson. Time to talk a little hardball. Elliot Johnson, my friend, Durham Bulls legend, former Brave, former Royal, former Ray, I don't think ever Devil Ray, and of course a former Guardians legend. Before we get into Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, umpiring and whatever else we get into here, what ballpark do you think you had the most success in given at least 25 plate appearances?
Toronto?
You were very good. You're excellent in Toronto, yes. Your batting average in Toronto at Rogers Stadium was, hold on, I want to see, get it exactly, was .421, but you had less than 25 plate appearances. Only 24 plate appearances in Toronto. .421, OPS of 1,005. You were dynamite at Marlins Park. .417 hitter, 145 OPS, 10 for 24 with a home run. You're also great at Camden Yards.
Yeah, I like playing in Camden.
It's a great ballpark.
See if you can name off the top of your head, Adam, how many road players, visiting players, have hit home runs from both sides of the plate in Camden.
Let's see. Road players to homer from both sides of the plate at Camden Yards. I wonder if Eddie Murray ever did it with the Angels.
Good question.
I wonder. Did Robbie Alomar ever do it with either his time in Cleveland or Toronto?
Great question. I don't know. But I'm one of the few, whoever it is.
Ballpark you struggled in?
Oakland.
Yes. You're very good. But only 22 plate appearances, so it didn't. I couldn't put it on a list.
Gotcha.
You must have been miserable in Kansas City.
Kansas City, another one, man. That place plays so big, Adam, and it was super cold. It seemed like when we played there, and they had a bunch of guys that threw 100 in their bullpen, so that didn't really help either.
So, all right, well, thank you very much. I enjoyed going down the Elliot Johnson page on BaseballReference.com. Still one of my 5 favorite websites on earth. Shohei Ohtani, fastest player ever to get to 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases. We talked about Ohtani at the beginning of the season. I just asked you if he's going to go to another level now as a hitter because he didn't have to pitch. I don't know if he's going to another level as a hitter. He's probably really the same hitter. But do you think he can get 50-50?
Yeah, he can. I don't see any reason why not. But I mean, one of the things about playing in LA versus playing in Atlanta, say, Acuna, for whatever reason, doesn't get the same energy, we'll call it, for what he's done with the home run stolen base combination as Shohei's getting. And I realize Shohei's a great player and he's a worldwide star and he's bringing so much, attention to the game because of it, and I respect it. But Acuna has been doing these things, maybe not as quickly, of course, but why Acuna doesn't get the same type of energy is kind of strange to me. But it's still great for the game. I love what Shohei's doing. I hope he does go 50-50, and whatever kind of attention he can generate as a result of that, I think is nothing but good news for the game.
I think the reason, maybe at least one of the reasons why Acuna hasn't been getting the same level of attention, yes, the global nature of Ohtani as a star certainly plays into it, but this is now second time in, 4 years where Ronald Acuna Jr. has been out for the balance of a season with a major injury. So just being out of mind matters, but I mean, he's one of the best. I mean, he's on the short list of best players in baseball when he's healthy, isn't he?
For sure. There's no question about it. He's dynamic in every way. And unfortunately for him, I think the things that make him so special, the loose joints, call it, that give him so much flexibility and ability to really generate unbelievable torque and bat speed has been to his detriment when it comes to running the bases, unfortunately for him. So I hope he can find a way to stay healthy. It's not as a result of him not being prepared. It's just they seem like freak injuries that happen running to first or, trying to turn on a dime at second.
Shohei Ohtani, probably the MVP in the National League. I mean, I guess Marcell Ozuna has comparable, not really the same, but you can throw a blanket over him kind of offensive numbers, but Ohtani's the MVP, right?
Probably right now. Ketel Marte's had a great year. Harper's had a great year. Lindor is turning it on right now. Holy cow.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a couple of folks there. I know Ozuna isn't good for the game. They're not going to give it to him, of course. So they're going to try and quietly say nice season.
Yes.
But it's probably going to be Shohei is the way that it looks right now.
I find it somewhat enlightening in some ways that a year or so ago, Braves fans could not wait to ship him out of town. And now they're like, where would we be without him? But that's just nature of the beast in professional sports. We look the other way. I'll just point to Tyreek Hill. There are places that remember that Tyreek Hill's not necessarily a good guy, but they love him in Miami right now. Aaron Judge has a cartoon OPS of 1,197, 51 home runs with a month left. Sum that up.
He's unbelievable. Watching the games, over the weekend, whatever it was, he's getting some home runs to right field that are cans of corn, call it, in St. Pete, in Kansas City, in Oakland, whatever it is. And nobody really cares. So, I don't want to call them cheap home runs. He's 6'8", 280, whatever he is. And he's doing what he should be doing. He's taking full advantage. What you think about is Babe Ruth and Maris and Mantle, hitting the ball to the short porch to right field. He's inside-outing stuff and hitting it to the short porch. It's fantastic. Absolutely love what he's doing. Now, the ones he's hitting to center field and left center are not cheap in any way, shape, or form. But he's got a lot of fence scrapers that are going to right field. And credit to him for having the approach to take those balls and inside out them. I mean, one of them was a two-seamer running in at 96 that he fisted for, a 370-foot home run, which is an out in most places. But to his credit, he's using the home field advantage. And not to be disrespectful to the 51 home runs, the majority of them are not that way, but he's getting a lot of them where he's taking advantage of New York. I'll say Soto's hitting some balls way out.
Yeah.
And he's not too far away OPS-wise. He's over 1,000.
Yes, he is.
Bobby Witt is having an outstanding season in Kansas City. He's got a lot more ABs because he doesn't walk as much as Aaron Judge, but holy cow, is he having a great year.
It's interesting. Judge does have, his fair share of balls that would be flyouts, F9s in almost every other ballpark in the big leagues. I don't know how many he's lost to left center, because that's really the long part of the field at Yankee Stadium. At least traditionally, it's been. But it doesn't take away from, like, even if you turn those 10, let's say it's 10, and you turn them all into outs, he's still making a mockery of. It's really throwback statistical data. He's about to get he already has his third 50-plus home run season. See, do you know how many Babe Ruth had? 50 or more home runs in a season.
I'm going to say 10.
4.
You kidding me?
4. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa also had 4.
Wow.
50 or more home runs in a season. Barry Bonds had just 1.
What?
Just
the year he had 72?
Just 1.
73?
Yeah, that's it. That was the only year he did not crack 50 in any other season, unless I glanced over one at baseballreference.com. But yes, Babe Ruth had 4 in his career. Of course, Aaron Judge didn't pitch. That's another story altogether. All right.
Isn't it so great for the game, though, Adam?
Awesome.
You get to be able to be mentioned in these things, and he's a wonderful human being. Watching him run around the bases all the time and smile and tell his teammates, hey, we don't do that here.
Yep.
He's an absolute wonderful person for the game. And the way he held out with those contract negotiations just makes it even better that the Yankees had to shell out more money to keep him there. I'm so happy for the guy.
And they're going to have to shell out a lot of money to keep Juan Soto. I don't know if they're going to do it. They might. The Yankees certainly can afford it. But, I know they're going to have a lot of competition right in their own backyard for Juan Soto. You mentioned Francisco Lindor earlier. We're talking with Elliot Johnson about baseball here. He's had almost a Francisco Lindor MVP-ish type season for the Mets. Not quite up to the level that he used to have, but he's probably hitting for more power now than he did then. And I don't know if I were the Mets that I wouldn't explore taking advantage of that in a move and just kind of resetting some of the deck. I don't know if they're going to re-sign Pete Alonso in the offseason, but I said I would move him at the deadline. They chose not to, and they're falling out. Although they beat the Diamondbacks last night, they're kind of falling out of the race for the wild card. All right, final thing for Elliot Johnson. I have been turned on to Umpire Scorecard on Twitter, and I know you use Umpire Auditor. And this gives you the home plate data for every game and every umpire, and I swear I keep seeing the same umpires at sub 90% accuracy, and yet they keep getting assignments behind the plate. Why can't Major League Baseball take the top 40 home plate umpires? You guys always work the plate, or every other game. Put 2 of them on every crew, and they work the plate. Why do we have to have bad home plate umpires umpiring home plate because it's game changing?
Okay, so if you look at, let's just call it league average is 250. Okay, it's somewhere in that range. Average correct rate in the big leagues is 92%. Okay, so if I'm a baseball player and I am not average, they're looking for somebody to replace me. Why they don't have a opportunity to have umpires who are better and just be purely merit-based? I just don't understand, Adam. I really don't. I don't know what it is with the union and the agreement with MLB. It needs to be completely ripped up and just torn apart. If they're trying to claim that it's a supply issue and there's not enough good umpires, that's a conversation worth having. I'm willing to hear that out. But I don't see why we can't have these systems in place to be able to track umpires in the minor leagues, just like baseball players. Very simple. And make sure the most talented guys are there, or just keep the good ones behind the dish and not ever have the bad ones rotate to behind the plate. This isn't rocket science. We can keep this really simple. So having the best guys back there, whether it's David Rackley or whomever it is, it doesn't matter. Their names are actually, somewhat irrelevant. And or if you want to pay them based on how good they are, I feel like you're incentivizing them to get better at balls and strikes. Otherwise, you're just basically creating a system of they're never held accountable. They can always go off the rails. They don't have to follow the rules. They can craft them to that day how they feel, and that's not the way the game should be. The best games you go to, the umpires, you don't even know they're there, okay? And if we can create a system where that is more of a function or an expectation, I think we should do it. The reason why it is the way it is, I don't think it needs to stay that way. I think that we can come up with a way to make sure the best are compensated appropriately, and it makes the product so much better because you're less worried about having those guys back there, the Angel Hernandezes of the world, who are going to continually just ruin the experience.
Yeah.
Where the game becomes more about that guy than it does about the players, and it should be about the players and the individual teams that we're watching.
It just seems like it's such a simple fix, and I am not a fan of automated strike zones. I simply am not. I do think that in so many ways, pitching is an art form, and it removes the art from the art form, and sometimes fooling the umpire is just as smart as fooling the batter. Not that I want to see a steady diet of that, but I don't want to see it eliminated. And the guys that get it right 94 or more % of the time, we should only be using them. Maybe my art form doesn't sit well with some people, but I'm not sure I really care. I remember the best of Greg Maddux and Pedro Martinez and Tom Glavine, who kept pushing the strike zone further and further off the plate and getting it because, well, I just got that last one. Maybe I can go another inch further off the plate and see if I can get that one. I just don't want to eliminate that from the game, but I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
Well, no, I'm in the same camp, Adam. So I think if the umpire that's behind the dish every single night, okay, there's 15 games that are being played at any given time, right? So if we had 15 guys that stayed behind the plate and that's all they did night in, night out, and we don't care, so Vic Carapazza is a guy that's back there. If he's one of the best, one of the top 15 best, he stays there. And if he doesn't, he moves away. And there's a compensation schedule for being the best. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. And they don't even need to disclose it to us. Who cares? As long as the best product is back there that makes the outcome or the product on the field better, I think that's what we should do. And I don't think we need to overcomplicate this at all.
Elliot Johnson, this is why you're my friend. I appreciate your time, my man. If we could get you in Toronto in May, batting 7th, did I spend too much time on your baseball reference page? Yes, I did. Elliot Johnson, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, Adam.
I hope you had a good time here in the Best of the Adam Gold Show. I did. Thanks to Rusty Helser who put it all together. I am Adam Gold. We'll see everybody down the road on the Best of the Adam Gold Show.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Adam Gold here for FanDuel, America's #1 sports book with a